For our Canadian lifters, pure passion, real results, what you put in your body should matter. Pure Vita Labs PVL supplements are clean, tested, and approved, powering athletes for over 25 years. They also power the KOTL podcast. You could trust PVL. Use code KOTL15 for partnership pricing at PVL.com. Well, my man, holy smokes, what is going on in the 66 kilo class? Dude, things are blowing up right now.
Yeah, we're catching up. Honestly, I think we're catching up because the 74s have always been really competitive. Obviously, Taylor is miles ahead of everybody, but still the weight class is quite competitive. The 83s, last year's Worlds was the 93s like explosion with all of those guys. The 105s have pretty much been competitive since 3 years, 4 years. And I think maybe the 120s, the 120s plus, and the 66s, and all obviously the 59s also, we weren't that competitive compared to those other weight classes. So 74s, 83s, 93s, 105s. And I think that slowly, like this year's Worlds would be the 66 showdown, I'm pretty sure. So I'm really looking forward to that. That will be insane.
Well, friggin' in terms of the 74s, man, Taylor's coming in injured, and dudes like Tim Monagatti moved down, and he's hitting his 80. If everyone's like, if he can bring his 83 kilo numbers with him, he would be a monster. But bringing your 83 kilo numbers a weight class down is a whole nother thing. I don't know if you've seen his most recent post. Hang on one sec, because I reposted it. Let me take a look at this number real quick. Tim Monagatti just squatted 292.5 kilos and deadlifted 320 kilos. Those are his 83 numbers. And I'm like, holy smokes, if he could do this as a 74 after the weight cut, he said he's 75 to 76 kilos walking around body weight. Squatting 292.5 and deadlifting 320. And they were smooth. Dog, this is, if I don't know where his bench is at, but Taylor's not 100%. He's injured. This is going to be, oh my gosh, man.
Sorry, I'm disagreeing. I'm completely disagreeing with you right now. Like,
what do you disagree? What do you disagree?
I don't know Tim, and so the little that I know of him, he's a really, really strong lifter. Obviously, in the 83s, he was, but I think people underestimate, like, I don't know. I think exactly what happened with Leah some months ago. Like people forgot how insane she was, and she reminded everybody of that at the Arnold's. And I think that slowly, it's happening to Taylor. Like people had crazy expectations of him for Sheffield, and obviously with the circumstances that he had to deal with, like he did whatever he could, which was like I think the first time maybe 3 years that we saw Taylor Atwood not 100% in terms of numbers, and still like he put up numbers that like the other setting floors have to bring their A game in order to match those numbers. But anyway,
Right.
but what I mean is I think Taylor hasn't been in that situation that he is right now, like mentally, for years. And when I started, like obviously you were there first, but a lot of people right now only know the ultra dominant Taylor Atwood, like that's 50, 60 kilos ahead of everybody else. But we both know that in 2016, in 2017, in 2018, that wasn't Taylor's case. Taylor was basically in dogfights, and he was coming second or third of those dogfights. Um, and then he just exploded and just started being 50 to 60 kilos ahead of everybody. So I honestly believe that right now Taylor is back to that like dog mentality. Not saying that he left him, but it's not the same when you win always and over, and people aren't expecting you to fight, but just to win, and people wonder like by how many kilos are you going to win? And now the fact that people start to just be like, oh, like Taylor may not win worlds this year. I think that will sparkle in him and a fire that will force him to
Here's
bring his A game back.
here's the thing. Okay. Mentally and heart wise, He's bringing his A game, but he is injured. Like he's for real, for sure, injured and dealing with some stuff. There comes a time where like what he needs to get over those injuries is time off. Not possible right now. Does not have time off until after Worlds. Once Worlds is over, if he wins Worlds, he's got all the way to Sheffield, which is like next February. So from June to Feb, that's like he's got over half a year. You'll see the best of the best back come next year. But so time is not on his side though. He has zero time to let these injuries pass. And these injuries are real. Like talking to him, he's got some stuff he's dealing with. And I think leading into Worlds, like he's got like it's literally from Sheffield right off the bat. He's going in. He's not going to be 100%. And this isn't me saying Taylor can't return to 100 or like the old Taylor's gone now and this is a new version. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he's still the same dude and he can easily go 800 up, blah, blah, blah. But he is a human and injuries are real. And I don't think this is past them. If I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think
but
so.
like, I can't remember exactly. I think he squatted like 275,
270, I think, on the button.
270 at Sheffield. And what did he deadlift?
Let's pull it up. I'm going to pull it up right now. Talk amongst yourselves.
Because I think like I honestly can't see any other 74 that can obviously some of them can come close to those numbers, but like even if he's like 10% better off of what he did at Sheffield, we're still talking like close to 780 kilo total.
So he squatted 270, benched 197 and a half. He's got a decent bench, deadlifted 310. He missed 283.5 and missed 322.5. So here's what I'm saying is, Tim looks like he'll be out squatting and out pulling Taylor, but Taylor will probably out bench him. But Tim, now look at man, Tim has not done this as a 74. Tim has not done this as a 74. However, if he does squat anywhere like that at Worlds, holy smokes. And we got Callie from Sweden. We got we got the new kid from I believe Singapore. Both those guys are with Joey Flex, and they're both on the other side of 750. They're going to be marching towards, I don't know. We don't know where they'll be, but so we don't know yet. We know, look at Taylor. I don't know. I know you're thinking 10 kilos up for Taylor. I'm thinking, honestly, if he can't heal himself and he's injured, I don't know if we're going to see improvements off of Sheffield or if we got to see a replication of Sheffield. Because when like things were getting injured at Sheffield, like when it was happening, like he was like the final squat, the knee gives out and it gets worse, not better because of that. Like, I don't know, man. And this is me who, like, you know how I feel about Taylor.
Yeah, obviously.
You know what I mean? I'm giving my honest assessment if I'm looking at this like my man needs time off to let injuries heal. And this is where I also am doing this. I also am giving the honest assessment. So when Worlds rolls around, people aren't like, okay, this is Taylor at 100% now, and this is all he could do anymore. I don't want people thinking that either. Because then if we pretend that injuries don't exist, we're essentially you can also be setting Taylor up to be like, okay, this is where your strength level's at, and you're actually at 100%, and this is your new 100%, which I don't believe. I believe his 100% is 800 and up, but I don't know, man. It's gonna be exciting. Man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and in a way that just like it's as if the cards are shuffled again in the 74s, which hasn't happened in years now, with like the Taylor Atwood's dominance. But honestly, I think he has it. I think he has it. Like, injuries or not, I honestly believe that some people are made of something different. And like if we take Leah's example, so when I used to coach her, I knew that sometimes, her body was giving her issues, especially like with her hip. And when we were away from a meet, she was like more in pain. And the closer we were getting to the meet, the more like her mental game was rising up. and the better she started feeling, and then she was able to pull it off. And I think she exactly did that again at Sheffield with
Mm.
her back thing and being back 100%, not 100%, but really close to 100% when it matters. And I think that that's what champions do. Like when it matters, they show up no matter the circumstances. And obviously, like those injuries are real, and you can just clap your fingers and it's all gone, and it's in your head, whatever. But I think that the mental side of things does extremely play a role in the pain experience. That's something that like barbell medicine talks a lot about, which I really really dig deep into this stuff. And I think like obviously when you talk Taylor Atwood, Leah, their mental game is just something different. So yeah, I'd like to see a battle, but I think honestly Taylor will win this 100%.
Also, here's another storyline. If this is what makes it even juicier. Okay. You had mentioned 2016, 17, 18, and then 19. You know who Taylor's chief rival was?
Yeah,
Kjell
Kjell.
Backlund. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Kjell,
yeah,
however we pronounce it. Apologies.
yeah.
I gotta slide back in his DMs to get it the proper pronunciation again. But who won worlds in equip, won worlds in classic, handed Taylor his first defeat. Taylor rallied back, handed him a defeat, and they were like rivals. And of all the years, Backlund's back.
Yeah,
And it's like, holy, you couldn't ask for a more dramatic. This is dude of all the years. This year, Backlund's back, and he's like, okay, let me. Not only that, Tim Monagotti's here, as well as Flex's 274s. Dude, it's gonna be freaking. This is a year
yeah,
where usually everyone's like, the 74s, Taylor's got this, and Taylor's still gonna be the favorite. Do not get me wrong. If you put $1 million on the table and say bet the $1 million, Taylor
yeah,
did.
100%.
I'm putting it on Taylor. Like
Yeah,
he's of all of those gentlemen I just named, Taylor's got the biggest total, even injured. 777.5 is still more. It's just all I'm saying is this is dicey, man. This is no longer like if one of those guys has a phenomenal day and Taylor's knee gives or whatever. What are we talking about here? Holy
yeah, for sure.
smokes. And
Yeah,
what
for
about
sure.
yourself looking at the 66s? Dude, we have 366s 710 and up
Yeah.
in the nominations. What is happening right now? This is crazy, man. I thought like, where are these people coming from? We
Yeah, honestly, I think, yeah, just like I told you, I think the 66s are catching up with the level of competition that we see in other weight classes, and more and more, you see barriers like being put put to the test with a lot of training sessions. And when you see somebody pull 300 in the 66, you're like, oh, maybe I can pull 300 as a 66. And then when you see somebody squat 240, then you're like, oh, I could squat 240. And then when you add those numbers, you're like, oh shit, I'm already at a 700 kilo total, or 700 and more. So I think that's really what's at stake right now. And yeah, it's really really nice to see a really really heated battle in the 66 ahead. So yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I myself are I'm really getting a lot stronger right now. And I honestly believe that I'm the strongest that I've ever been. So changed my squat technique uh, after what happened at Euros, where I bummed out because of so my first attempt, I didn't get the squat command because I was too much leaning forward for the judges. Second attempt, changed my technique, didn't make it, and then third attempt, one ref said not upright enough, and then the two other refs gave me red for lack of depth. So after that event, I was like, I have to change my squat. Like there's no other way around it. And I feel that I was the face of the quote unquote French low bar. And
yeah.
so yeah, I just had to change my technique, which is what I did. And man, people don't realize it took me like months where I squatted 30, 40 kilos less than what I was squatting prior to that. And it was rough because you're like, what am I training for? Like I'm hitting numbers right now as singles, for weights that are I used to do like triples or 4 reps or 5 reps with that weight, and now it's giving me a rough time, and I'm not there yet.
Mm.
So it was humbling. Honestly, it was really a humbling experience. And yeah, so now I think this made me stronger, like physically, mentally, and my squat isn't like quote unquote to the limit of the rules right now, which I don't think that's something that exists. But yeah. So yeah, so I do believe I'm coming in really really strong, and uh, being there with other strong dudes is what I can ask for at most.
Like, how would you, because 2022, um, like so many things stacked against you for worlds. It was crazy.
Yeah,
That was like,
yeah,
I'd said before in 2021, you were uber confident going into worlds. And you had that quote where you said, like, um, something along the lines of the powerlifting gods have chosen me. I'm destined to be number one. And you were just crazy confident. And I love that quote. And then obviously you won the world championships, you won the European championships, and you were flying high. And then in 2022, going into worlds, freaking everything that could have went wrong. From like on the personal side, don't got to get into it, but you face a bunch of stuff on the personal side, to injuries, to you laying there. Oh, here's another thing. You just get COVID. And you're like, holy smokes. And you're full blown COVID. You didn't know it because the tests don't come back right away. But you end up getting COVID sick. So you were like, even when you got there, you're like, let's see what happens. And then you get sick. You're like, well, damn, man. Like, this is like, it was a terrible situation. And then you wanted some comeback meat, silent worker. You had a good meet. So that was good. But then I believe Arnold Classic. Did you have to pull out Arnold Classic?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
then Euros happens. And then
yeah,
you're like, where is my redemption? You
yeah,
want that redemption meat.
yeah.
And how are you feeling now? Is redemption around the corner? Do you feel like the storyline is it's redemption, or are you like, look, I chased redemption so long, I don't even want that tag on me? Where are you mentally after the 2022?
So yeah, so just like you said, 2021 was my year. So I became world champion, French national champion, and European champion in that order. And so, that was just the year for me. Like I felt that I got what I deserved because I do believe that I work extremely hard and I dedicate a lot of myself, not just my time or effort, just myself. I'm just pouring myself into the sport. And so yeah, it was so good to be at the top of the world at that moment. And then 2022, I lost everything. Like right before French nationals, I sprained my clavicle, so I couldn't compete. So lost my title because I wasn't able to compete. I couldn't bench 60 kilos, like just 60 kilos. I couldn't lower 60 kilos on my chest because of that. So that's where I started doing some crazy dumbbell stuff because that wasn't hurting me. So I built a lot of strength, I think, of that dumbbell bench. But yeah, anyway, so then I'm prepping for worlds, and even though my bench isn't 100% back, it's like 90% back. I'm hitting crazy numbers on squats and deads, and I'm like, okay, that's my time. Then, like you said, I get some personal stuff going that don't allow me to completely focus on my training. And the days where I don't train, I have to be somewhere from morning to night, and that's not a nice place that you have to go to, but you have to go there.
And,
But
and without
anyways,
saying what it is, the severity
yeah,
level was super high. Like on a scale of one
yeah,
to 10, this was on the upper end. Without,
yeah.
you don't got to get into it, but like just so people know, we're brushing over this, but this was not small. This was
So,
big.
so you know, I won't go into details, but I think at some point that's something that I would like to talk about whenever I feel ready. So I won't go into details again, but my dad got sick basically, and so he was in the hospital for years, months, and now we're closing on a year, something like that. And so yeah, so you can't just be like I'm whenever I'm not training, I'm just going to sit at home and chill and rest or go to work. I stopped everything. And the only times that I wasn't in the hospital with my dad was when I was training. So I'm training 4 days a week. And the other 3 days of the week, I was at the hospital from morning to like what however long I was able to stay because of like hospital closing and so on and so forth and so on and so forth. So yeah, so I think that did play a role in my back tweaking close to worlds because I was in a dark place mentally where um I think I was doing too much, but that's because of what was happening to my dad. I was like, um, I think I was maybe hurting myself in training, not necessarily focusing on getting stronger, but I just wanted to hurt myself. Um, and yeah, so it just ended up happening because I was just too hyped, too emotional about stuff, and whenever things were getting tough, instead of just backing down, I was like thinking of my dad, and I was pushing even more. And actually, that did give me a lot of strength at moments, but then I think that was just too much for my body. And at some point, just like you said at the beginning, injuries are real, and no matter how strong you are mentally and how crazy you are in your head, at some point reality catches up to you, and that's exactly what happened to me. And so 5 days or no 8 days out or 7 days out, I can't remember. I tweaked my low back with like 210 kilos. It's just like out of pure fatigue. And then within 3 days or 4 days, I was able to squat to 40 back and deadlift 260 back. So close to 85%, 88% back. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to Worlds, whatever happens. Because at some point I thought of dropping Worlds just to be with my dad and just not train and don't go to train, don't go to Worlds, and just like drop it off completely just to be with him because that's tough. He was in a tough space, and I wasn't in a good place either because of that. And he told me don't do that because I talked with him about it, and he was like don't do that. I will feel bad if you do so. So I was like, I'm going to do Worlds, and I'm not going to do Worlds. I'm going there to win, and if I win, I win for my dad because that would mean a lot to me. And it was like to give him this win, which didn't happen. And yeah, so I fought to the very end, and I think you probably remember that third squat I did with
Dude, that third
250.
squat, let me tell you something. I can't. So people showed me, you showed me actually the video of your final warm up
Yeah,
before Worlds. And it makes sense, like when you hear the background story, everything that's going on in your life. And people showed me the warm up video, your final warm up before you hit the platform. And it is an RPE 10 grinder
yeah,
that like you're done. You're done,
yeah,
kid. You're done for the day. That looked like a third attempt, world record
yeah,
attempt. And that was
yeah,
your last warm up. And then you're like, okay, let's go on to the platform and we're going to see something special here. And the thing is, you now got COVID, so your gas tank's low, and your third attempt squat at Worlds is like one of the craziest fights. You could literally boil an egg at the time that you were freaking scrapping with that. It was crazy, man. And afterwards, I mean, you would drain the tank for that thing. And if you weren't, maybe if you didn't have COVID, you would still have the energy to continue to fight like that, inspired wise. But not only were you like coming in here injured, and obviously like the prep wasn't the prep you wanted, and then you get COVID on top of that. So then after you drain the tank, I mean, look at if your dad's watching, everybody watching was like, holy shit. I remember you swung by the commentary booth with a smile on your face saying, what do you think about that fight? What do you think about that grind? And I was
yeah,
like, my man, it's the thing of legend. It's literally the thing of legend because before you hit the platform, we all knew you weren't 100%. We all seen the videos of you unable to bench press, so you're using dumbbells, and the video, we saw it all. And you showed the video. You actually have video. Some people go, oh, injured. Yeah, was he injured? You actually have video of you getting injured, plummeting with the weight on your back, hitting the ground, and like it's all on video. And you've
yeah,
showed it all, and you have posted the video of your final squat attempt warm up before you went out to the platform. Crazy grinder. This is all documented. It's
Yeah.
all documented. It's insane, man.
Yeah.
It
It felt like it. Like it wasn't just a grinder from the outside, because like sometimes, I'm squatting and people are like, oh, that was rough. And I'm like, no, that was easy for me. But then that 220, so it was a 225. That was like I felt my legs shaking like I've never felt them in my life. Like, I've squatted in training 260, I've squatted in comp 250, 252. I've never felt my leg this weak under a weight because I was detrained. COVID got me, and so usually the morning of the meets, I wake up around 68, so I have to cut 2 kilos with like hot baths and stuff like that. And the morning of Worlds, I woke up at 66.6 or 5. So I woke up pretty much at weight because of COVID. I was unable to eat because I was vomiting everything and so on and so forth. So, so when I hit that 225, I was like, oof, that's like,
that's
I
your
was like,
war.
you know what? I don't have anything to lose anymore. So I'm just going to go out there and just do whatever I can. And so I squatted my first attempt, 235. I was like, not that bad. Okay. That was slightly better than the 225 and then 245. And that was like, yes, same. And then for 250, I knew that my dad was watching at home, um, because he sent me a message like, and he told me something that still resonates in me. And I still say that quote. I still say that quote in my head sometimes. He said, um, strength has a lot to do with your physical abilities, but its birth is in your heart and your mind. And he told me like, I love you, son, something like that. He told me that the morning of.
Oh
And
shit.
this gave me like, even right now I'm getting emotional, and I'll try not to cry because I'm really a crybaby at times.
Dog, that got me pretty good. I'm like, holy
Yeah,
smokes.
yeah. And so, when I was squatting, when I went to squat 250, I thought of that, and I visualized my dad sitting at home watching the TV, watching me squat, and I was like, you know what? I have to show him something. I have to show him that I'm at least half as strong as he is. And so I was like, like I really felt and thought that could be cliche, but I thought like I'd rather die than not make that squat. And I'm just going to give it my absolute best. And it went up. And as the weight was moving up, I was like, watch me, watch me. I was thinking that, obviously thinking of my dad. And yeah, and so it happened. But then, like you said, I think my body wasn't compliant with my mental strength, because I felt really, really strong mentally. And I was like after that 250, I was like, I'm going to win worlds. I was so amped up and so crazy in my head. I was like, there's no way I lose today. I'm going to win. Then, obviously my bench wasn't 100%. And yeah, with the grind that I did and with COVID and everything, I wasn't able to deadlift. I think I just deadlift like 260, 265, and I wasn't able to do something else, which made Worlds what it is for me. And that redemption meet that I wanted was really important because obviously it's been a whole year that I'm always thinking of my dad, and I don't know why, but I associated my strength with his. I'm like, with the kind of strength that he showed me throughout my whole life, but also especially during that last year that has been extremely rough for him. I'm like, whatever I'm doing isn't close to what he's doing in terms of strength, but I'm still going to try my best to match him and to match his spirit and to show him that, hey, your strong is also quite strong. And yeah, so it didn't happen at the Arnold Classic, probably for the same reason that for Worlds, because I wanted to hurt myself while training and not doing it really the smart way. So it happened at the Arnold, and then I think for Euros, I was in a better space mentally, and I was smarter with my training, and I stopped training just out of pure rage and despair, and I was more so like, let's do something clever, let's do something smart, intelligent, and that went better. training wise. But then, what we talked about happened with my standards not being to the level that it needed to be, um, regarding the reffing, regarding the judging. And honestly, at first I was really mad about it. And I'm really glad that I got you in my corner, because just to set the record straight, we were in the DMs together, and I was like, I'm going to say publicly what I currently feel, and that's not the way to go. And I'm glad that you were here to talk me out of it. And just a week later, I started thinking really differently. And then now we're like 6 months later, and I completely changed my mind with what I thought at that moment. So just to set the record straight, I felt a huge amount of injustice. And I'm not saying that what happened to me is an injustice. I'm saying that that's how I felt at that moment. But with 6 months since it happened, I'm like, that's my fault, 100%. Like, it's 100% my fault. No matter what happens, as an athlete, you have to do what you have to do. And if you don't do what you have to do, then something like that can happen. And that's completely my fault. And I think with those things that happened to me in 2022, as an athlete, maybe I didn't grow, because, I didn't PR whatsoever on any of my meets. But as a person, mentally, I think that I've gotten like so much stronger. Um, because I've always had that like mental fortitude. Like, obviously if I have to grind 12, 13 seconds, I don't mind. For me, it's nothing. As long as the bar moves, then I'm still going for it. But I think that this year taught me, I think I grew up a lot this year with everything that happened and the way it happened. And so now I'm going into this 2023 Worlds with the same mental fortitude that I had, but with a lot more calm and confidence, I think. And yeah. So yeah, I think this year, um, if people don't see me on the picture as the 66 champion, world champion, they got it wrong.
That's a nice way to sum up that. But so unpacking some of that. First off, like going back to, let's go to Worlds first. I got some commentary along the way. But so Worlds, your situation, I equated it, and I think I can't remember if I told you in South Africa or afterwards, but it was like, I remember your story reminds me of the Evander Holyfield story. Bear with me when I say this. So Evander Holyfield won the title from Buster Douglas. Buster Douglas won the title from Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was the man. He was the man. Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson on an off night when Mike Tyson didn't take him seriously. 42-1 underdog, the biggest underdog in sports history. It was the biggest upset victory in all of sports. 42-1, my friend. Buster Douglas wins. Evander Holyfield wins the title, and Evander Holyfield was the number one contender. Buster Douglas was supposed to be a tune-up match for Mike Tyson, getting ready, staying busy for Evander Holyfield when he defended against Holyfield. So we didn't take Douglas properly, and Tyson loses. Holyfield gets his title shot. It's not against Mike Tyson, it's against Douglas. Evander Holyfield destroys Buster Douglas and becomes the champ. Mike Tyson ends up going to jail for sexual assault. So now he never met Mike Tyson, but he's still the champ. Everybody, the media, the public, everybody's saying, you're not the real champ because you didn't beat the man who beat the man who beat the man. You didn't beat Mike Tyson. So he's a paper champion. All this time, the media, the public, you're a paper champion. He defended against George Foreman. George Foreman was 42. He defended against Burt Cooper. He's going to defend against the number one contender. The guy dropped out, last minute injury. Burt Cooper, a journeyman, jumps in. You beat Burt Cooper? He's a journeyman. You're defending your title against journeyman? He defended against Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes was 42 as well. They're like, you're a paper champion racking up all this money. Faces Riddick Bowe. Younger, bigger, stronger. And for the first time, the public was like, the winner of this is the true champ. And it had been 2 years since Mike Tyson was in prison. Finally, they're going to step out the shadow. And this was going to be the one. Bell after bell, you saw Riddick Bowe battering Evander Holyfield, and Holyfield refusing to yield because he knew everything that was on the line. He would get battered from one side to the other of the ring, rally back, and win that round, battering the bigger man Bowe. And they went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And Holyfield and Bowe were real close on the scorecards, but Bowe was probably slightly up. And then finally, for the first time in Evander Holyfield's career, he gets dropped to his knees by Riddick Bowe and realizes, I now am too far behind. It's a 10-8 round for Riddick Bowe. I can no longer win this fight on points. It's not going to happen. Now it's gut check time. You lost your title, but it isn't just about that. He rose off the ground and continued to fight, got battered back and forth, came out the final round, and his nose broken, eyes swollen, lips swollen, and people like, they could stop the fighter if he doesn't answer the bell. And he's like, you can't win. He's already lost. You can't win. You're behind on points, and it's the last round. Fucking answers the bell anyways, because that's what champions do. You don't just take my title with me laying down. This is where I prove myself. And Evander Holyfield took a beating in that last round, finished on his feet, and Riddick Bowe took the title. Now, interesting. Only when he lost, the next day, the public, the media, everyone is like, that's a champion. Evander Holyfield was a true champion. Let's all remember the champion Evander Holyfield was. They say that about him when he lost, Pana. And I think I told you this either in South Africa at some point, where it's not about necessarily winning and losing. And for you, you were telling yourself, like, when you had won the title, like, yeah, but I remember you on the podcast saying, like, people view me as a weak champion. They think I'm vulnerable. They think this, they think that. People are always going to talk. You're a champ when you win the title. And in South Africa, you had your Evander Holyfield moment where you're like, I'm not going to be 100%. And long after, it's like, it's not here for me after that squat. You know, that I left it all on that squat. I got off the canvas and I kept going. But they were going to have to take the title from you. You were going to keep pulling, and you didn't bomb out despite injuries, despite being sick, the whole nine. You adjusted. It shows character. So, and that was my takeaway from your South Africa performance when you put on that gutty performance you did in that third squat, which I'm going to remember for like the rest of my life. And then going into the European Championship. Okay, so first off, and then the Arnold Classic happens. It is what it is. I was there for the silent worker meet, and I seen your 692.5, still not a PR for you. I know you've hit 700 before. However, it showed, all right, I got some positive momentum, and it was an amazing time. So I'm glad we experienced that together, because that was an amazing meet anyways, dude. Like, silent worker was one of the greatest weekends I've ever had. And you had an amazing time. Leah putting away her apron from Leah's kitchen, selling pastries to raise money, to throw me in, coach. I'm jumping into the deadlifts, and we're going to deadlift for everybody. Dude, it was crazy. It was such a special weekend. You had a great weekend performance-wise. 45 minutes you waited after the meet, people waiting to get autographs and pictures with you, and you were back. Like, Pana was back. You know, this is the performance you would have liked to have had at Worlds. It is what it is, but like, you did your damn thing. And dude, I'll always remember that weekend. That was such a special weekend. And like going out for drinks and dinner and blah, blah, blah. And then, so Arnold Classic, okay, not too bad. When Europeans happened, and I knew you were upset, this is where having people in your corner sometimes, like, I've been in situations where things have happened publicly. Someone will say something publicly, do something, go at you, whatever the shit, and you're like, I'm about ready. I'm about ready. And you turn to somebody, and somebody will be like, give it 24 hours, maybe even 48, depending how you're feeling. You've seen this. You've seen this with other people, where you'd be like, if you just gave that 24 hours, maybe 48 if you needed to, if you just gave that a day, don't respond yet. If you feel the same way tomorrow and you're really hot, wait one more day. If you still feel that same way, let's talk. And you know what's the best way to approach this? If it's a video or is it too hot? A video is too much emotion. If it's a written, and then here, give it to Anissa. She read this. I'm not crazy. Edit it if you have to. Like whatever it's gonna
That's
be.
exactly
Like,
what I did.
that's exactly what
That's
you should
exactly
do.
what I did.
This is exactly what you should do, my friend. And this is what I counsel. This is why your friends, you people say, like, I got you back. I got you back. Sometimes having your friends back is counseling and being like advice, just being like, pull back a bit. Like just give it 24, give it 48 hours, give it a just let that emotion go. And then see what you feel like, because there's stages of grief, anger, you know, the whole nine. See where you're at, how you feel, and then choosing your platform is very important. Because when you
Yeah.
write it, there's no emotion when you write it. It's concise and clear. When you're angry, you might ramble, bounce from topics, say something you don't mean to, whatever. If it's written and then you could rewrite it, the emotion's gone because it's verbiage on paper. And then you give it to someone else and be like, read this for me. How does that come off? Then you think about it. And then you're like, dog, this is what we do. This is what we do. This is why, like, having an inner circle is so important. That an inner circle that'd be like, you know, that you could count on and trust.
And you know, the best part is that, like, I remember you sent me DM, not the other way around, because you're like, man, I know how you probably feel, and let's talk. And you know, it made me feel good, really, because at that moment I really felt so. And everybody in the audience came to me and was like, that's not right. And you know, that was the worst part of it all, is that everybody, whether it be online, because there were some YouTube videos made about the incident, or people in my DMs, or people like in the audience, like pretty much everybody came up to me like, that's not all right. That's not right. Something's wrong. Something's really wrong with that. And you know, like it converts what you feel at that moment, because like I said, I really felt like I was that it was an injustice. I really felt like that. And those comments really corroborated what I was thinking, what I was what I was feeling emotionally. And you know, like you, a couple of other people like Anissa, Leah, and so on and so forth, told me, "Hey, man, just don't do it. Like, just wait and wait a week, wait 2 weeks, and see how you feel." And, you know, and again, like you said, I think sometimes people say, "Well, yeah, got your back," and having somebody's back isn't always being nice to him. It's sometimes being like, "Hey, man, I think that's a mistake. Don't do that." And you know, again, I'm really thankful to you for that, to Anissa, to Leah, and to my other friends that were like, you know, man, just don't go public about it, because I think that today I would have regretted what I was maybe about to say. So obviously, I like to think of myself as a calm person, collected, and I wouldn't have written anything like outrageous, because at the end of the day, refs are human; they have to be respected. Usually, it's volunteers, and no matter what happens, you have to respect the refs. That's how a champion acts. That's how an athlete acts. You have to respect the rules. You have to respect people. And I wasn't going to say anything crazy, but more so like, you
I'll
know,
burn
I'm
down
victim
your
of
house.
yeah,
Have you seen
exactly.
Semi Pro, the basketball movie with Will Ferrell, when the call goes against him?
No, I haven't seen it.
Dude, he goes, oh, he's like, fine, I'll burn down your house and murder your family. He's like, are you kidding me? He's like losing his mind. It's like, oh my God. But
No, no, obviously none of that, none of that. But you know, I think I would have said something that I probably would have regretted today. And again, not saying what happened is 100% right, but at the end of the day, it's my fault 100%. Um, as an athlete, I can do something to not have something like that happen to me, to not allow it to happen to me. And I didn't do that on that day. And so no matter who's refing, no matter what their ideas are, whatever, it's my fault, 100%. And so basically it's on me to deal with that. And at first it was really hard to do, because for weeks I was training, I was like, what if everything that I'm doing right now serves no purpose? Because, you know, I thought that my squat was good. A lot of people thought that my squat was good, and it wasn't. So what's the purpose of me training right now? So I had a lot of rough sessions because of that, because if you don't have, so I felt a lot of anger in me, but I was also feeling helpless. So it wasn't really a cool combination of stuff. But then slowly I started catching not momentum like training wise, but more so mentally wise, and I started being like owning my mistake. And I was like, okay, at the end of the day, it's my fault, 100% my fault, and it's up to me to set the record straight and get back at it. And so I just had a little over a month ago my qualifier for Worlds, because I bombed out of Euros. I had to do a qualifying meet for Worlds, and so the French Federation organized a meet for people that weren't 100% qualified for Worlds, and so I was part of that meet qualification. And at the end of the day, I'm really happy that I did that meet, because a lot of people showed up, and man, the love that I got and the emotions that I felt, I was like, okay, I really fed off of that energy. So basically, my mental aspect after that was vengeance. And usually what I like to do is I like to transcript my emotions into sound worker, because I feel that sound worker is my baby in a way. And so we had a mood. So we dropped a couple of clothes, and the mood was vengeance. So it was like the silent worker inscription, like almost destroyed in a way because of like how I was feeling inside. I was really maybe like in the destructive emotional state. And so I was like, that's exactly what I want to wear. That's exactly what I want to rock. And so some people actually bought the shirt, and they were in the front row of my squat, and they were like waving the shirt when I was squatting.
Oh,
Like, we're with you, just like you would wave a country's, flag in order to hype the player of whatever sport. So I remember vividly, like there were like five, six people in the front row that all had that t-shirt, that vengeance t-shirt, and where they were like waving the t-shirt. And I was like, that's exactly what I want right now. And so when I
yeah.
was squatting, I was just looking at them while squatting, and it was a special moment. And then at the end, so I didn't do like a crazy meet, but I did a decent total, and I did a little grind on my last deadlift, on my second deadlift, sorry. And then at the end, some people stayed just to have a conversation with me, take a photo, whatever. And a lot of them were like, I was working today and I took a day off just to come see you. Some others were like, we live 5 hours from here, but we had to come for your redemption meet. And it was just like surreal. And so it really gave me a lot of strength. And I really think that after all those negative emotions that I felt for a whole year, I needed more positivity. And that gave me that. That gave me exactly that, where people were like, we look up to you, and what you do is inspiring us. And I was like, I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just lifting weights. For me, it's pretty much that simple. Then having somebody look at you and be like, you helped me go through some rough stuff. And I was also going through some rough stuff, even though a lot of people didn't know. Yeah, that was just insane. And so since that moment, um, yeah, it's different. And so I just came back from Greece a couple of days ago. And so the reason why I was in Greece was actually to see my dad, because he moved away in Greece now. He went back to his roots, and yeah, what I get from seeing him again wasn't exactly like the previous times, where I was happy obviously to see him, but I was getting a lot of negative emotions, like feeling really down, sad, and depressed. And now I'm feeling more like, strength. I feel more energy. I feel more positivity. And with that and that meet that happened some time ago, and also there were like French junior nationals, French sub junior nationals. I was at those events to represent SBD and Salon Worker, and also to ref and to volunteer and other stuff. And I met so many like good spirited people, had so many great conversations. And yeah, I think I really left behind me the angry self that I was a year ago, the sad self that I was a year ago, that just wanted to pretty much hurt himself training. And now, yeah, I see it way, way, way differently, and I feel way more calm and way more, again, positive energy, and that really helps, and that makes a difference in my training. Like right now, I'm hitting really great numbers in training that I haven't hit in months, maybe years for some lifts, with my new squat technique that is 100% within the rules. So yeah, that was a roller coaster of year 2022 for me. And now we're in 2023, Worlds is closing in, and I'm like, I can't lose. Like I just have to win this. It's that simple. And I honestly don't see myself losing. I don't see how that could happen.
Here's so we'll get into 2023 in a sec, like that world's, but in terms of like going back to Euros for a second, then we'll go into what you're talking about, like the 2023 qualification meet and the positivity there. Like when you think about, you had talked about all these people that had approached you and said like that wasn't right, blah blah blah. And I think one of the things I told you as well is I said sometimes when you have a reputation like yourself, you don't have to say it, brother. They'll say it for you.
Yeah, I
It's
remember
okay.
that.
It's going to be said.
Yeah, I
Don't
remember that.
worry. And it means something to be, when you hold yourself a certain way, there'll be, you could be not in a room. And if people in the community are in that room and they start slandering you, talking about you, somebody in that room is going to be like, excuse me, and they'll stick up for you. That's
Yeah,
when your character precedes you. That's when your character, and you'll be glad you held yourself in certain ways. And when you continuously build that social credit in your community and keep being a positive force, for instance, doing silent worker meets, giving away checks for people, putting on those competitions, sponsoring athletes, you so quickly just mentioned, at the juniors, you're reffing, you're volunteering, you're there, you are running SPD, it's friggin' the whole everything you're doing within the community, and all the seminars and everything. When you do all this positive work, and then something comes around negative, and you're like, I'm going to try to be above the fray because people look up to me this way. They're showing up at competitions, 5-hour drive, the whole nine. I got to be bigger than that. I got to be, and if it's a big injustice, other people will say it. Other people will think it. Other people will debate it. This is what podcasts do. We debate. I mean, what do you think about that call? Yeah, I think I should have passed. I think they should have passed. I don't know. Well, maybe it was on the line. Let them debate it. And you
yeah,
just sometimes holding back and being like, you know what? Like some people are paying attention to how I carry myself, and they draw strength from how I carry myself and the dignity of which I carry myself. And they're like, that's how that man handled that. Look how he handled 20. Look how he handled worlds. Look how he handled, you know what I mean? Like, that's a strong man. And you start telling yourself, like, I can't let these people down. You like, it's okay to be honest and be like, this is how I felt. But because what happened, man, to be honest with you, man, I thought at least one of those squats should have passed. But on the flip side, it's, I don't know, there's bigger pictures. You start seeing it's difficult. I mean, I've mentioned this so many times on the podcast, but people do not realize what's going on in France right now. The amount of attention and what happens at these competitions, how many people are showing up and the support you guys have. And I want to get into a little bit. We could talk about, like SPD France, how much work that has been and what's going on with the social media wise. You show me some of the numbers, but like YouTube, TikTok, you're working with all these influencers with like millions of views and whatnot. And it's crazy what's happening in France. But it matters, man. It matters. It's a huge, you've been that guy since the beginning when the French Revolution first kicked off. And you were knee deep. You, Anissa, who probably doesn't get enough credit. I mean, her English is better than my French, but if she could come on a podcast and talk about, like you had told me, and for anyone listening, Anissa is your girlfriend's fiance. And she's like silent worker, SPD France, involved in the federation, running meets, volunteering, and like way deep into everything going on over there. The amount that you guys are putting in, it's crazy. It's crazy. People talk like some people talk about like I wouldn't put all this on you and bump you up like I do if you were just a great lifter. Because like, yeah, you won the world championships, but it's more than that, right? Like there are people who just win and expect, here I am, adore me, love me, I'm responsible for everything. And some people like, there's other good lifters besides Pana. It's not just that though. It's not just that he's lifting though. It's everything else you guys are doing. There's so much more to it that people don't necessarily realize.
And that's all right because and for me, it's all right because I don't do that to get recognition. I do that because I deeply care and love the sport. And like, honestly, that's something that I don't really talk a lot about, as I feel it's quite personal and I like to try to keep some stuff personal. But in another way, I really want to help people out as much as I can, which is a lot of the reasons why I do what I do, basically. But anyway, so prior to starting powerlifting, I was lost in my life. So I didn't know what to do. Nothing was really interesting me. And I felt just lost, basically. And I just started not doing anything. Just I was sitting so I was obviously going to law school. So I was doing my homework, everything. Then when I was done, I was just like waiting at home, not doing a lot. And just the only moments where I felt alive and I felt that I belonged somewhere was actually when I was training for powerlifting, which was really just the really really beginning of my powerlifting career. And so just the way I view it, powerlifting gave a meaning to my life, and that was really before being able to get money out of powerlifting, whether it be through coaching, whether it be through whatever sponsors, whatever. I wasn't getting money from powerlifting, but powerlifting gave a meaning to my life, and so my view is that powerlifting is my sport, not in the way like that sport belongs to me, but just it's me. Like I really feel as if powerlifting is a part of me, and the way it helped me deal with everything, I just want some other people to be able to find that comfort into that sport, into powerlifting. And so for me, it's really simple. I just have to give myself back to powerlifting because it gave me so much. I just have to give back. And so that's why we do everything that we do. So, like you said, the meets we run, the fact of being volunteers for the French Federation, like pretty much all of us, like Anissa, Tiff, Leah, Julien, all of us, we're national refs. We all ref. Like during the weekend, uh, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Anissa didn't ref only one group. She refed all of the other groups. So from 8 in the morning till 8 in the evening. I was a jury for a lot of the groups. I also refed. Tiffany refed a lot. So what I mean by that is we just give back because that's what we want to do, and we want some people to be able to find into powerlifting what we found into that sport, which is like a new meaning for our lives and for ourselves. So that's why we do everything that we do. And like I said, we don't do that to get recognition because I just want powerlifting to be as big as possible to reach as many people as possible. And so a lot of like my YouTube videos are a way to do so. The Instagram content that I do, the featurings that I do with influencers, with whatever, it's all part of that bigger goal, which is, and so that's why I talk about the powerlifting propaganda. So usually I don't know if you've seen that, but I
I've
usually
seen
say
it.
like
Yeah.
powerlifting propaganda or
Yeah.
SBT propaganda, whatever. And it's really that. It's I want to hit as many people as possible with that sport because I do believe that that's a sport that could heal and could help millions of people around the world because it gives you a frame, it gives you a meaning to your life, and it makes you part of something bigger than yourself. And that's what we all do, and that's what we all need. So yeah, so I don't do that to get the recognition, to be honest. And just like you said, um, I feel that the way that I do that, and we all do that quietly, which is part of the silent worker motto, is good enough. For me, that's good enough. And if people realize what we do and they enjoy what we do and they respect what we do, then just like yourself, they're going to talk about it. And for me, that's fine. I don't have to ramp to go out there and rant about like, hey, yeah, that's what we did for the French Federation. That no, I'm really thinking about more so what the IPF did for me, what the French Federation did for me, what the sport did for me, and just I just want to give back my just myself. I just want to give everything back to that sport and community. So yeah, so that's all we do, and that's how we view everything that's going on right now in France. And I think we're lucky enough to have people responding back to that. And I see a lot of people give back, like they got this much out of powerlifting, and they already give back that much. So yeah, so it's just crazy to see all of that happen right now in France. And that's why the sport is getting that big. It's not because we have superstars, whatever. I think we have superstars because of that mindset, because of that mentality. And I didn't mention that, but Jade Jacob is in the exact same situation
I
as
was just
us.
about to say it's
Yeah,
happening with the juniors now. Jade
yeah.
Jacob, you see her, you see her
She's
on
a ref.
Instagram. She's a ref.
She's a national ref. She was commentating the live stream.
That's right.
Uh,
Yeah.
one of the French coaches was commenting the whole weekend for the sub juniors. Her Jade's coach is also refing. So all of those top lifters, they're not like, hey, I'm just training and then I'm sitting at home chilling and watching my likes on Instagram. Like Jade is exactly like that. She goes there, she refs, she volunteers, she's there always, all the time. She's there to help others. So yeah, so I think that's why we're that big as a sport in France, because we all give so much. And if tomorrow somebody's like reaching out to Jade and ask her to do a video, to do something, she'll do it because she's like, okay, then it will benefit the sport, it will benefit the French Federation, it will benefit the IPF, so it will also benefit me. But it's more so about just giving back. And that's and it just sets an example, because when you see your favorite lifters who are really, really strong give back, you're like, okay, that's what I have to do. And so you just do it. And yeah, in France, we have a lot of really, really great lifters, incredible athletes that are also really incredible human beings that give back. And that's just part of the whole process.
It's not common. I'm telling you from like worldwide global. When I look around, like when I think about some massive stars, you have people that they're not doing the small things that are like not fun, like reffing, volunteering, and they're not doing those things, right? It's not normal. And it does set a tone for the culture. Like you guys came first. And I remember you coming on the podcast early days and you were still in your ref outfit and it was late as hell over there in France.
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, sorry, man, I've been reffing all day. And then you'll come on a podcast and talk for another 2 hours. And it's like, this is just what you do. This is what you give when you set the tone for that. And you guys are the first world champions coming through in a while. Like you're like in terms of the social media era. I know in 2015 there's another male lifter, but there was still there was people recognizing like, no, this is the tone, this is the standard, this is what these guys did, this is what you do. And to your point, yeah, Jade, I see her like commentating in the ref outfit, like Turbo Tiff, one best lifter at the YPF Worlds, and then a week later is reffing. And it's hilarious. Anissa at the silent worker meet, talk about a tough ref, bro. She was reffing you
It's the worst.
and she turning down your squats, and like
Yeah.
people be like, is you would think she would have favoritism for you. She's way harder. Other
Yeah.
refs are giving it to you, and she's like, nah. And I remember Turbo Tiff coming around the corner, looking at her like, damn, that's a tough ref. Like, who was that? Oh shit, that was Anissa.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
So there's a joke in France right now. Whenever people see Anissa reffing, they're like, oh shit. And for the French sub juniors that competed this past weekend, they like pretty much all of them had her either as a ref or as part of the jury. And it's crazy, but that's what we have to do. Like if we want to be a serious sport, there's no, yeah, I'm going to give it because I know him or he's my friend or he's my fiance or whatever. It's like you have to ref it. And just like you said, at the silent worker meet, my third squat, so I did like 265. And so one ref gave it a white light, the central ref, who's Xavier de Putorac, who's like a really renowned member of the European community, of the European Powerlifting Federation, the EPF, also from the IPF, from the French Federation. So also when we talk about a volunteer that's doing a lot of job, he's part of them. So he gave me a red light for depth, and so the last lateral ref, side ref was Anissa, and she also gave me a red for depth. So I was a no lift
Did you almost
for
make a
depth.
post? You're like, I'm gonna wait 24 hours before I make
Yeah,
a post
yeah,
at my
yeah.
Anissa. I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
calling off the wedding. I'm like, hang on a
yeah,
sec, hang on a sec, hang
everything,
on.
calling off everything. So
You're
if I have to be
calling
honest, I was like, she's sleeping on the couch tonight.
that's right.
There's no way I'm sleeping next to that lady who
Yeah,
just destroyed my squad today.
yeah.
But yeah, like we said, it's about like owning responsibility. It's not the ref's responsibility; it's your responsibility. You just have to sink those squats if you want to get those three whites. And I didn't, which is why I didn't get my squat. But yeah, like to your point, for us it's normal to do that. And again, I really want to emphasize that we have been doing that when there was no money involved. We don't do that for the money. We do that because we deeply care and love that sport. And all of the other opportunities that we got, like money-wise, money involved, are because of that mentality that we have from the get-go. Like before coaching right now against money, like I do, I used to coach for free. And then I started coaching for 20 euros a month, which if there are some fellow coaches that listen to that, if you have the rates per hour, 20 euros a month, it's like talking cents. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe cents an hour. So, that's what you have to do. And then sometimes you get some opportunities that come up and then you're able to seize them, but you're able to seize them because of everything that you did for the past years. And now, just like you mentioned, we have the opportunity to be part of SBD Friends with Anissa Lee and myself. And that opportunity isn't because we're nice. It's because we have been putting in the work for 5, 6 years straight, helping the sport grow as much as we can in France. And if you would have told me that 2 years ago that we actually would be the ones running SBD France, I would have been like, what are you talking about? There's no way we do that. But here we are today. And the reason is because I think SBD saw and valued what we did in France to help the sport grow and what we still are doing currently today, because that's exactly SBD's DNA. It's helping the sport grow as much as it can. Like if you look at Sheffield, um, maybe some people didn't do the math, but if you do the math, you're like, SBD lost money off of Sheffield. They did that for the sport. They did that for the lifters. They did that to get more attention. So we're talking about a private brand that's its purpose. It's supposed to be to get in as much money as possible. And SBD is putting up events where they don't win money. Sometimes they lose money just to help the sport grow. And you're like, those people are setting the tone. And so, and SBD has been doing that from day one when they were sponsoring teams where there was no money involved in powerlifting. So, from the outside, SBD is like a great example. And it's a company, again, it's a private company that operates pretty much as volunteers. But it's a private company. So yeah, I think we have a special community in our sport, and we should really be grateful for that, as it, again, like you said, sets the tone for all of us.
We were talking about like at Sheffield actually about how much work you guys do in a week, just like from running SBD, coaching, silent worker. It's insane, man. But what's crazy is like, so we had this conversation before about like your life it's almost bizarre, all the different adventures you've had. I remember in COVID times, at a certain point in COVID, Samantha Eugenie was like living with you guys at certain point. She was like 16 or something at the time. It was so, things are so bizarre. And then like, you're like, yeah, we had like a stepdaughter for a summer. It was weird because she just wanted to keep training and her gym was going to close down. She'd like, all right, you could stay here. We have access to a gym. And then from like all of this is crazy to now you're running SBD France. I'm like, who's involved? And you're like, I mean, we got Turbo Tiffin there. We got like you
Yeah.
started breaking off jobs to people, and it is, but you guys come in and get to work, and it's you could maneuver your training around because you could coordinate amongst each other. All right, look at I need a couple hours to do this. Fine, all right. I need these hours, and you could because you're world champions and you're going to world championships, etc. So it works, but there's a lot of work to be done. And you guys grind, man. How many hours? Like the hours you guys put in.
We don't count them. Honestly, we do so much. But again, I'm not saying that in the way like, oh yeah, we put a lot of work. It's like for me, it's I'm not gonna say it's not work because it is work, but it's my passion. So, and just like to give you a quick example, like this weekend, we all were there. So at French sub junior nationals, which again, you could be like, yeah, it's sub juniors. We don't have to go there. We go there. We have the SBD booth there. We have the Sun Walker booth there. We referee. We volunteer the whole nine. And um, so we had to train, obviously. Like Leah, Tiff, myself, we're prepping for Worlds, and all of our other friends are really taking powerlifting really seriously, and they don't miss a training session. So we were there from 7 a.m. in the morning at the reffing, volunteering, working on the booth, meeting people, talking to them, showing them how to how to wrap their wrists with their SBD wrist straps for them to be able, oh, okay, so that's the type of wrist strap that I have to buy, and so on and so forth. And so then it's like 9 p.m. and we start training. We start training in the gym, like in the warm-up room because the competition is over, because the club that's organizing the event, we know them, and they're like, you know what, you're cool with us, so we're cool with you, you can train there. And so what happened was a lot of people, so lifters and people from that were spectating the event actually stayed, and we had like 50 people in the warm-up room,
Oh
in the
my
warm-up
God.
area, to actually watch us train. And so I almost felt like it's a mini meet, you know what I mean? Because we were doing like singles. And
Oh
so
no.
yeah,
You
it
start,
was people were shouting, people were crazy. And for us it was just like we're getting in our session because we couldn't get it for the day. And so the day we did was 7 a.m., reffing, volunteering, and so on and so forth, starting training at 9 p.m., finish training at 11:30 p.m., and then go back to the hotel, and then the next day we back at it at 7 a.m. and and we did that 2 weeks ago at French Junior Nationals. Now we did that this weekend at Sub Junior Nationals. um and yeah, it's just our lifestyle, and our lives revolve around powerlifting, and we just want to give back. And I think if there are some people that are like, how do I do this, how do I do that, what I would say is get closer to your federation and ask them basically like, where do I fit? How can I help? Do you need refs? Do you need volunteers? Do you need this and that? And then when you involve yourself in the process, then you understand. Because at first you're like, oh yeah, the federation does this and that, and I don't agree with this, and I don't agree with that. And it's easy to go online and be like, yeah, this federation is wrong because they do this, because they do that. But then you're like, yeah, what do you offer? You have to offer something. If you say that's not right, then you have to offer something. And I think that's the difference with us. It's because sometimes we go to the French president and we're like, yeah, we don't think that's right. Here is what we're going to do. And just to give a quick example, so the French, there's a qualifying total to the nationals, and that qualifying total is getting pretty much 50 kilos up every year.
holy
So at some
crap.
point, yeah, 50 kilos. And I think the qualifying total for a 74-kilo junior male is probably close to 570 to 580 kilo total to do nationals.
Hmm. So it's yeah,
And
that
it's quite high, right? And the reason we do that is because then otherwise we have 60 lifters in the 74s. And during just a weekend, that's not possible. So what we did was at some point the federation was like, yeah, we're going to have to up those total again. And we're like, we don't think that's the way to go, because at some point between um, getting the lifters to a certain level and then just discouraging them from competing, it's easy. You know what I mean? Because if every year the qualifying total gets 50 to 60 kilos, at some point you could be like, okay, let's drop it. It's not worth. It's not worth the time. It's not worth the efforts. No matter what, I'm not going to be good at this. So what we talked the federation into was, let's do French nationals junior and sub junior on the whole week and not a weekend. And so we don't have to put those crazy qualifying totals. More people can do the meets, but what does it require? It requires a whole week of meets. So we will have to run nationals for a whole week. And our club and like Jad's club and some other clubs actually volunteered to do that. So we're the crash test for that. We're like, we don't want you to put those junior and sub junior lifters to crazy numbers and then maybe be at risk of a lot of them dropping off because they're like, I can't keep up with the pace. We have to offer them the opportunity to do French nationals because that's an achievement in itself, and it creates a lot of momentum in France, and it creates momentum also in every lifter's career. But if we have to make it happen, we have to give more. So we're ready to run French sub junior and junior nationals next year on the whole week, not just a weekend, like it has been for the past decades in France, a whole week.
See, this is exactly what is unique. What's going on is you guys, like, people will step up and be like, here's where I'm concerned. If, just like you said, and I think it's a valid concern, to say, if we keep raising totals and we keep cutting people off, yeah, eventually some people will be like, this is becoming unrealistic to me. I love a sport, but if I can't participate, if I can't at least make the national level, and if the national level becomes truly, if your nation becomes very elite, which yes, France is, then the national level will just be the tip of the spear globally. Like, we're talking, you got to be really good to make it. Yeah, you're going to start actually mitigating the growth. So then when you guys 100%. Which is a valid concern, but the difference is, here's the difference, Pana, that probably doesn't happen with a lot of people around the world. You guys see this. This is not going to impact you, Jad, Tiff, Leah, all you people who do the reffing and whatnot and got involved. This isn't going to impact you. You're safe because you're going to hit these national totals. Surprise, surprise. This impacts you not at all. You guys are thinking, for the good of the sport, growth of the sport in our nation, I think this might be an issue. So instead of just telling other people what they need to do, you say, if we make this a week, the problem is just logistically of making it instead of over a weekend. Well, we can't do it over the week. How are we going to staff this? Who's going to come in and run this for 5 extra days? Easier said than done. Just run it for 5 more days. I got enough people to run a weekend, and you guys step up and be like, we'll volunteer. We'll do it. You need more hands? We'll bring more hands. And it's not just you, it's your whole crew. And you got a whole crew over there in France. And when you're like, let's do this, all of us, like when you're doing silent worker, it was crazy how many hands were on deck. And this is what you guys are doing in France, and this is why you guys are exploding, because you have that kind of mentality of what's best for the sport. Let's jump in and make it happen. No, but not just say what we think should happen or bark on social media and in comments, but the stuff that nobody wants to do, where you're showing up and you're running boosts, you're reffing, you're volunteering, you're building up, you're breaking down the whole nine. None of the stuff because so we run 3 extra days. So this 15-year-old kid who wouldn't have made the cut now was there, because that kid when he's 18 could be something, or he's going to go tell his friends and their friends are going to come like, no, it's important. So we do this, but I'm telling you, Penna, other people don't in other nations, dog. This is unique. It's special. You guys got something, man. And when people, and I ask, what is going on in France that makes this exploding at such a crazy rate? This is a huge part, man. Your guys' mentality, silent worker, like, sorry, it's on brand though, is that whole, like, I think some other places, it's more like barking online, where you guys are like, no, go to the Fed, say, we'll do this. The Fed goes, logistically, we can't. And then you say, why? Do you need more people? Say less. I'll give up my week. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'll be there at 7. I'll see you at 7 a.m. with a coffee.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's rock and roll. Like, what's the problem?
Everybody involved in the French Federation, the media team, the refs, the French president, the vice president, so Stéphane and Xavier, they all are like, okay, what do you think of that? oh, okay, that's a valid point. Let's do this, or no, I think we should. So it's really a conversation we have with them. And I think that's maybe so. Maybe sometimes you have old people, quote unquote, that are a little stubborn, and they don't want to evolve, they don't want to progress. And well, you can't really do much when you're against that. But the luck that we had was um, those people, the French president, the vice president, we need them because they do stuff that none of us can do. Like we can't run SBD France, this, that, and then also the French Federation. Like that's not possible. At some point, you need other people with other qualities to do other jobs. So it's really an ecosystem. And so basically, those people, they're like, let's do this together. And they give us a lot of help. They give us a lot of credit. They allow us to do some stuff and they listen to our ideas. And we also listen to their concerns, their ideas, and we make that work together. So, that thing with the whole week competition, it's really for the juniors and sub juniors only. Maybe we'll do that for the open at some point because again, then it's the same problem. At some point, you can't request from somebody to train for 5 years just to make it to nationals. For me, you can do that if your sport is like football in France, which is yes. Yeah, sorry, my dog was. You can do that you can do that with football because you have millions of participants in France. But if you start doing that with powerlifting, what happened was is people are like, it will take me 4 or 5 years to get to that level. Nah, not worth the effort, not worth the time, not worth the advancement. And then if they're like, oh, maybe if I could train a year or 2 years and make it national and be on that stage, which is like right now, France has put up a crazy amount of money into the national stage. So we have like it's pretty much like it's worlds. So we have the crazy screens, we have it's crazy. So it's and the federation put a lot of money into that. So it's really investing, and the federation understood that aspect of it has to be invested. And so what I mean by that is you need to make something happen. And you need to give your time, you need to give yourself, you need to give your money, you need to give your because all that time that I give at meets, I could do something else. I could make money for myself, but I don't because I do believe that if I make more money for myself, that's not benefiting the sport. Obviously, I want to make money for myself because I have to live. But if I can do that and then have another time of myself and my time and my day and my weeks and my months and my year to dedicate it to the sport itself without thinking of me personally, that's better. And yeah, like you say, I think the strength that we have is we find a lot of people with the same mentality, whether it be in our crew, in our team, but also, like I said, in other teams like Jad's team and so on and so forth. They also do a lot for the sport in France. And so when you have really competent teams involved, ready to lose themselves, their times for something bigger, that's where the magic happens.
It's special, man. This is why it's
Yeah.
happening over there in France. This is why, and the fact that the federation is the way it is, these guys who are already in place with the federation and they recognize, let's work with people.
Yeah.
Let's not close off and be like, excuse me, I don't need to listen to you. It's like, no. Let's listen. We can sort out, there's more ideas that way. We could be more fluid. We could solve problems easier. And not only that, if we listen for real, other people are actually going to get involved and help solve problems and literally not just tell us ideas, but jump in, which is, now you got something special. Yeah, but you guys got like no free time. You got no free time. You told me you're scheduling and how much you guys are doing since you've taken on like SBD France. And it is cool though. This is a moment in your time. I was like, you were like, what's the worst that happens? I do this for 10 years or whatever. Like if this doesn't, even if this lasts 10 years, I go to work and I'm working with like Anissa's there, Leah's there, like Turbo Tiff is there. And like, you guys are like packaging up knee sleeves and like bringing them in and shipping them out. And like, it's crazy. Like who goes to work and there's like, oh, there's, world champion there, but like, you guys are all like, it's crazy. It's like a freaking reality TV show. It's not even real. If all of this just comes to an end at some point and I'm good with that. and you're 40 years old and you go back to a normal 9 to 5, you could look back and be like, I regret nothing. I
Exactly.
regret nothing.
Just exactly that it's invaluable for me. It's insane. Like we talk about SBD stuff, we talk about powerlifting development stuff. It's just insane. And honestly, in a way, I do. So if I'm looking at it realistically, I think we deserve what's happening right now. But then I personally feel like I don't deserve it. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just too beautiful to be real in a way. Then, like I said, we've been putting up our efforts, time, money, um, without waiting anything in return for years. And in France, at least, nobody has done that but us. And now, obviously, a lot of people are doing it more, but we were really the ones doing it first. And I think if you ask me, like that French Revolution, I think it starts with a mindset. It starts with like that sport is really dear to us, and we're going to give it our just absolute best. And we could be like, yeah, the federation has it wrong, and so on and so forth. And we were never like that. We were like, maybe there are things that could be done better, and let's see if the federation agrees to try this, try that, and slowly but surely we're there. And now, for instance, I used to believe that the jury in France, the way it was handled, wasn't right. And instead of being like, oh, the jury doesn't do this or that, now I'm part of the jury. And so, like on this
Mm.
weekend, I was part of the jury for I think a couple of groups. And so I'm watching every single lift that's happening. I'm not talking with my friends. I'm not scrolling my phone. I'm watching every single lift that's happening right now. And if I do believe that something's off, then the jury will have its role to play. And we do it with the lifters in mind. We do it with the sport growth in mind. We do it with the viewership in mind, and that changes everything. And I do believe that's the route the IPF is taking right now. Also, with a lot of contracts that are being signed right now, and a lot of opportunities and a lot of money also put up on the table by the IPF. SBD and so on and so when you have all of those great examples around you, you're like, I have to be part of this in a way. I have to like involve myself, and yeah, that's how it happens. So if there are people listening, they're like, yeah, I want to do something similar. My suggestion would be get closer to your federation, try to see if they need something, like do they need help, do they need volunteering, do they need refereeing, do they need organization for the meets, do they need money, because money is also something important. Like for instance, with Sound Walker, we just sponsored the French Federation with money. So every year we give them a fixed amount of money, because it's like, okay, sometimes you need volunteers, you need help, but sometimes you just need money because you have to buy stuff, you have to do this and that. And so, yeah, go closer to your federation, see what they need. And again, sometimes there are some people that are stubborn and it's not easy to work with them. But other times it's not they're stubborn, it's just that they don't get the help that they need and that they deserve. And so if you offer them that help, then something great comes along with it.
You know, when you're saying you're a member of the jury, it's funny how sometimes when you become a member of something, like when you're on the outside, you're like, why did you make that decision? Or why,
100%.
it's different. And then when you jump
100%.
in there, sometimes you're like, when I get in there, I'm going to change this. And then you get in there, you might change a little bit, but you're also sometimes like, you know what?
I
I
get
kind of
that.
like, now I kind of
Yeah.
get why they do
Yeah.
certain things. And I'm going to do the same because it's different when you get in there. I want Gavin Aiden to be on one of your juries, sir. He's all about the no jury or whatever intervention or whatever. Gavin Aiden's got to be a member of the jury at some point. Let's
Yeah,
see what
yeah,
he feels
yeah, he
like.
has to. Gavin's my man, but he has to. Because honestly, like after this weekend, so um French junior nationals was my second meet as a national ref, and sub junior nationals so was my third meet as national ref. And since those two meets, which were like not even a month ago, back to back, pretty much, um, again, I grew a lot from that, and that gave me a lot of reflection on what happened to me at Euros, where again I felt a lot of injustice, but then with a step back, you're like, it's not that easy, man, in any way. So it's not easy to say, yeah, that what happened to me is an injustice, the same way as it's not easy to say, no, everything is fine. It's always blurry. Like the line is always gray. And yeah, it like you say, just gives you a lot of self-reflection. And I'm glad that I'm doing this because I do believe it's really helping me grow, and it really helped me view my situation differently, because now I'm a jury or ref and I see their frustration in the athletes' eyes or actions or behavior, and I'm like, I get that, but sorry, you have to deal with that. That's how it is.
It's yeah. I mean, here's the thing too, which is kind of different. Um, it's you, it's Leah, it's Shad, Turbo Tiff. It's weird if you're a lifter who looks up to you guys, and it's like your heroes are giving you reds, and it's probably different. It's got to be different. You're like, damn, it's like, all right, well, maybe it is what it is. Like being a boxer, and Mike Tyson said you lost that round. It's like, I guess I lost that
Yeah,
round. Like
maybe it plays a role.
it's got to be a little weird for them. But yeah, you get critiqued. I don't know. It's kind of weird too. And you must also be like, look it, there's got to be also a point of, if you're like Leah or Tiff or Jad, and some young girl is coming up, and she probably looks up to you like she wants to be like you, and you're gonna have to give her a red anyways. You're like, I'm sorry, kid.
Yeah,
I know this is gonna break your heart, but I'm gonna call you on depth right now. And
yeah,
if you don't turn this around, you might bomb, and I'm gonna have to bomb you out. Like
yeah,
that's gotta be
yeah,
tough knowing, damn, this is that kid. If it was anyone else, could probably leave that meet and not even remember the ref's face because you
yeah.
don't. But that kid would be like, shit, that was
Yeah.
that was Turbo Tiff. That
And you know what?
girl, like, that's
I had a
tough.
couple of lifters coming up to me. Are like, "Hey, do you remember you gave me a red for that attempt?" And I'm like, "Man, I refed like 400 attempts today. So yeah, you would have to show me the video for me to remember it and to be able to tell you what's up." And it just happened this past weekend. A guy was supposed to come like to second or first, can't remember exactly, as a sub junior, and so he wasn't able to go up in weights because of a mistake. I can't remember if it was depth or whatever. So he ended up like not placing on the podium or doing a lower placement. And then he comes to me and he's like, and so his behavior on the platform was really like, he really was disappointed and it showed, and he was angry and so on and so forth. And then he comes after that and he talks to me and he's like, so could I ask you like what you think of that and this? And I answer, and then he's like, okay, then I really regret the way I acted on the platform. And now you're giving me sense to what the mistake was, and this and that. And just like you said, if when I bombed out from Euros, I was like, yeah, fuck those refs, whatever, then like how could I then as a ref tell those guys, hey man, you just have to get better, you have to do this better, you just have to sync your squats
Imagine
deeper
someone
and so on
does
and
that
so
to
forth.
you. Imagine someone goes on social media after you and is like, you'd be like, you like, first off, you wouldn't need to say much because other people jump in there and be like, hey,
Yeah,
homeboy, you know what Penna does for the community? You're gonna come at Penna over a squat call. People like, dude, you out of line. On the flip side, had you done it at Euros, they would be like, yeah, but Penna also there
yeah,
was, you know what I mean, where it's like, I think there was I think at some point, like this is, I've had conversations where I could pull that card and be like, do you know everything that Penna does? Like you give him leeway. If he did whatever he might have said or done or whatever the hell, do you know what when you're doing net positives or net negatives, that's where you give people wiggle room. Like, do you understand how much they give and whatever? Like that's where, yeah, it's exactly that. And that's where I'm glad, like, it all pays forward. And when you move forward in the future and you're in certain positions, you're like, I'm glad I didn't give anyone ammunition against me or put myself in a situation where like I'm on the other foot now and now someone else feels they could take liberties against me because I did that. So it's hard for me to be like I went to social media and blasted people when I felt it just, you'd be like, ah, shit, that's going to come to me at some point. Somebody will come at me, especially some people like it if it's you. Somebody like,
yeah,
good. I tag Penna claps back. Now I'm kind of people are talking about me. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to
Yeah.
do this. I don't want to do, that's not why I'm doing this. You know, I'm not
Yeah.
refing to get somebody famous, right?
Yeah.
But
100%. 100%.
it's yeah. And also, so I want to ask you too, another piece. When you said in 2022 and you were training and you were like, I was hoping to hurt myself. I was looking for that. Like, what do you mean by that? Was it like the Gavin Eden? I don't know if you heard that podcast where he was talking about um he would use it as a motivation. He would say, he's like, I'm not joking. I literally wanted to load up enough weight and keep pushing and pushing until like, let me see if this breaks me. I want to see if literally muscle comes off the bone. He was talking about Sheffield and he's like, they loaded up the world record. He's like, I literally got to such a dark place, was so heated and wound up. He was like, he's like, and I don't say this lightly, but Gavin was full on saying, he goes, I bring with me like a little satchel, notes reminding me like who, if a girl walked out in my life or if someone said something, me reminding me about this dark place. And
Yeah.
he's like, I am literally on the verge of like, he's like, I don't care if I live or die. He's like, I get to a point where he's like, I literally feel suicidal. He's like,
Yeah.
that's how dark I feel. And if that weight, if I put that, unrack that weight and it's heavy, I'm like, good, let it fucking crush me then. Let's scrap it out. Let's scrap it out. And if bone muscle starts tearing off bone, good. Let's see. Let's see. Good. And he's like, I'm not saying this lightly, my man. He's like, I'm not, I wouldn't talk about that lightly in terms of like suicidal thoughts. He's like, I have these. Like he goes, it's real. It's dark. And he's like, I don't know. I told him like, dude, I'm not, he goes, I go, what do you think about it? And he starts talking. He got into it a little bit, man. If you haven't heard that podcast episode, my man, you better
Yeah.
listen to it.
I heard it. Obviously, I heard
Okay.
it.
Okay.
And
It was like, Gavin, it was deep. And I was like,
yeah.
dog, this is, that podcast first off blew up. Everybody and their mother were sharing it. It's by far the biggest podcast. It's crazy than what it's doing all over the world. But we went to some places and I'm like, Gavin. And he's like, it's just, he goes, this is real though. This is literally how I feel in my day. And he said, you've talked about this a little bit. He goes like, this is how I channel this energy, but the energy is there. It's just being channeled over here, but it's there. And you had talked about previously, and I like the way you talked. Actually, I think I might even mention it on that podcast, how you had said, this is how powerlifting is how I express myself.
Yeah.
I'm not an artist. I don't paint. I don't grab a guitar and play music, but I hit that fucking stage and I grind, baby. And you will see me scrap for lifts, and this is how I'm going to express myself. It means something to me. And that's why the heart and soul comes out of it, and I get all wound up in the videos and whatever. And so anyways, yeah, what is the mind state when you're doing it from 2022, and how is it a little different now? How is it different from 2021 to 2022 to now in terms of the intensity, the training, etc.?
So first and foremost, I just want to say that Gavin is the dude. Like,
Dog, I love that. I fucking love that kid.
yeah,
I love you too, though. Here's the thing. I am so blessed to have you guys in my life. It's crazy. Life is crazy.
yeah,
You want to talk about powerlifting, given so much. But for me, like I'm a relationship guy. It's crazy the relationships I built in powerlifting. And I'm
yeah,
like,
me too.
I'm so blessed that you guys came in my life.
Like honestly, outside of powerlifting, I don't bond easily with people, but like the people with whom I bond through powerlifting, it's like a lifetime bond, and it's something really special and really dear to me. Like Leah, Turbotif, whatever. It's a special bond that we have all together, and that I have with you, with Gavin, with Coco, and just to name a few. But anyways, just so that Gavin podcast was insane, and honestly, I learned a lot through that podcast from Gavin, and just like what you said, like what he described and how he felt, and I just want to say that Gavin is a badass, man. It's crazy, and
Anybody who
just
hasn't
for the
listened to it,
record,
gotta go listen to it. Gotta
yeah,
listen to that one.
did
Three and a
he?
half hours, you'll listen to it all.
I can't remember if I don't think I've listened to the whole thing. I can't remember if he mentioned the sauna episode where we were in the sauna with him, Turbotif, for some hours prior to Sheffield. Did he mention that?
No, tell me about it.
So I'll just tell you the story. And so sorry, Gavin, if you're listening to this, but this has to go public. This has to go live. So we're in the sauna for the from the hotel, and so Sheffield was on a Saturday, right? Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. So Saturday morning, a lot of single moms were actually having just the spa from the hotel, so they just had the spa subscription from the hotel, and so the Friday night we go in the sauna to lose a couple of grams with Tiff. Gavin is there, Mo is there also. And so, we're just chatting. It's just us dudes with Tiff and just chatting, just losing some weights and so on. So then the next day we go there, but it's Saturday morning, little, yeah, maybe 9, 10, can't remember, but close to that. And so a lot of single moms are there. And so now we're in the sauna, and it's not just like Gavin, Mo, myself, Tiff. It's like Gavin, Tiff, Gavin's coach, Alex, myself, and a lot of single moms in that sauna. You know what happened? Every one of those single moms was hitting on Gavin, and the dude was so nice. He was sweating for Sheffield, so he wasn't like I'm doing a sauna to chill to relax. It was I'm doing a crazy sauna to lose some serious weight. And he was so nice that he was keeping the conversation with those ladies while he was just in pure pain, and they were like heavily hitting
He's
on him.
dying, but he's like keeping a conversation. Like,
Man, and Gavin was so
oh,
nice.
he
He was
probably
having
loved it, Penny.
conversation.
He probably loved the attention. Don't kid yourself.
I'm not sure because the man was like bleeding, and they were like, "What do you think my son should do in terms of studies in the U over in the US because you're from the US?" And so and then what happened was one single mom was there chatting with him like for 5, 10 minutes straight. Then she was going out, then another one would come in, and then she was also chatting with Gavin. And
Oh
so
my
back and forth,
God.
it happened for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And the dude was so nice that he didn't stop them like, "Hey, I'm going through something rough. Just don't
Yeah,
talk to me."
please.
He was just having a conversation with them like 100%.
Dude, when you're weight cutting, you get to a point where like, yeah, you stop talking when it gets to
Yeah.
the bottom end
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
like, oh my
Stop.
God, please stop talking to me.
Yeah.
Like you maybe someone could talk at you. Even then, sometimes you're like, I mean, I just, just leave me alone for a little bit. It's tough.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
nothing, weight cutting is terrible.
Yeah.
There's nothing enjoyable. And,
But
and Gavin
he was
Eden,
so nice.
Gavin talking these single moms.
Yeah, man. So when I say they were heavily hitting on him, it was like obvious. It
Yeah,
was
oh
like
yeah, I bet.
gross.
Dude, you
It
got
was
this
gross.
meatball in there. You see Gavin with his shirt off. They probably see nothing like it in his life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gavin
They
posts a
have it.
picture of himself with his shirt off. He gets like thousands of likes, man. The guy is like, if you're not used to it and that's your thing, well, you're
Yeah.
in luck.
He's
You're
a
in luck.
fridge.
If you like muscle men, these women are probably going home and be like
Yeah.
talking to their girlfriends online, like, oh my God, you should
Yeah.
have seen this young guy I seen in the
And
sauna.
also, he had the nicest haircut of them all. Like
The
he
Viking
dethroned
haircut.
Taylor Atwood with haircut wise, 100%.
Yeah, I think so,
100%.
dog. It's crazy how much discussion that I bet you those ladies were pulling. As soon as they saw him Viking haircut, literally,
Yeah,
like
100%.
literally the biggest jack dude. Like Gavin is so thick. They were probably like, oh my God. They were like, they probably turned, they're like, I'm just gonna go in for 5 minutes, get a little sweat before I work out. They probably stayed in there a half, they probably
Yeah,
cut
yeah.
down themselves. They dropped a weight class
Yeah,
themselves. They're like, I can't resist talking to this young man. They
yeah,
probably watched,
100%.
I bet you of the 230,000 people that watched, I bet you a good 10K were the single
Yeah,
moms that were
100%.
in that network.
100%.
They went in group chats and they were like, I found him, and here he is on social media. Check it out. Like, oh my Lord. Gavin Eady, God bless him.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. Yeah, that
yeah,
was,
crazy.
but
So yeah,
yeah,
to circle back to your initial question, so no, it wasn't like the Gavin thing where he said, "I want that bar to break me." It was more so, so again, just like I said, my dad was in a really and still is in a really tough spot, tough situation. And so I'm really close to my parents, to my dad, to my mom, to my brother. And so, when something happens that serious, it just kills you from the inside. And so that's exactly what was happening to me. And when I say I wanted to hurt myself, I think it's after reflection. It's not on the moment that I wanted to hurt myself. It's right now that I have a little, like almost a year to reflect back. Whatever I was doing at that moment was trying to hurt myself. Um, At that moment, I didn't want that, but looking back, I think that's what I was searching because what I was searching was, you know, um, so I saw my dad in his hospital bed, and he had a surgery that changed his appearance. So when I saw him, I didn't recognize him because of that surgery. And like that moment is like I can close my eyes and still see him in that hospital bed in that position where I'm like, that's my dad, and he doesn't look like my dad.
Mm.
He didn't almost look like a human being because of the surgery and everything, and it was rough. And so whenever I was going through a rough set and I was like, I have to squat this number, I have to bench that number, I have to lift that number. Whenever I was going in the rough set, I was like, I have to add 10 kilos to that set. I have to add 10 kilos to that top set. And because I lacked the physical strength to do so, I created that physical strength through my mindset, my mentality. And so just before I was going to unrack that bar with 10 kilos more that I wasn't able to do, I visualized my dad on that hospital bed, and I was like a crazy man. And I was like, he's so strong because he's going through all of that and he doesn't show weakness. That how can I appear weak to that weight on the bar? It's not possible. It's not happening to me today. And so I pushed myself like that times and times off and on. And at some point, my body just gave up because I wasn't allowing my body to do what quote unquote it was supposed to do. I was forcing my body like constantly over and over for weeks and weeks and weeks. And when I say constantly, it's like always. And I wasn't resting because I was having nightmares pretty much all the days. So I was pushing myself really hard in training, too hard in training, not recovering because I wasn't sleeping because I would sleep 2 hours, then have a nightmare about my dad, and then lose sleep completely, stay in bed until 6 a.m., 7 a.m., like roll around, being like, I'm not resting, so my session for tomorrow is going to be garbage. And then maybe finding some sleep again at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., sleeping 2 hours. And so that went on for weeks. And at some point, my body just gave up. And it was like, that's not happening. And so when my body gave up, so like you said, it wasn't a 210 kilo squat, just I'm lowering myself. And then on not even the third of the descent, my back just tweaks and gives up completely. On the next 6 to 7 days, I was sleeping 18 hours a day.
Oh my God.
18
Your
hours.
body
Like
had enough. It was like
my
enough.
body was like, so I was taking like painkillers and stuff like that. And I was sleeping 18 hours a day. So my mom was actually, so I have two dogs. So my mom kept my two dogs. And for 6 days straight, I was sleeping 6, 7, can't remember exactly, 18 hours a day.
Holy
So I wasn't seeing
smokes,
the
dude.
sun. I was just getting up, eating something, and then going straight back to bed pretty much. And that's what I mean by I think looking back at it, I wanted to hurt myself. Not consciously, not like it wasn't something conscious, but it was what I was doing didn't make any sense. But nobody could talk me out of it. Anissa tried a couple of times, but that wasn't happening because like I told you, I think in my head I wasn't, what I was doing wasn't logical, and I needed to have that crazy thing happen to me, and it didn't leave me afterwards. Honestly, it didn't. Um, and to this day, sometimes I do that mistake. I think that that's a mistake in a way, but yeah, sometimes I like before I leave, I close my eyes and I see my dad again on that hospital bed, and I'm like, man, he's that strong. Can't let him down. So yeah, it's a tough one. It's a really tough one. But then then I saw him again like this past week, and his appearance changed also. Um, But this time, when I think of his image, I don't get that anger in me, that sadness in me. I really just keep that strength. I'm like, man, the last year of his life has been like I don't know if I would have pulled that through. And I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't have because of everything that happened to him. And he's not the same man. And I don't know that if people realize that if I tell you that from tomorrow on, you could be something and somebody completely different than who you are right now. Like, just imagine how crazy and how mad that must drive you.
Mm.
I can't picture that happening to myself. Like, not being myself from tomorrow on for the remaining of my days. That's not something you can picture yourself going through. And he's going through that, and he's showing me the way. And so I think that the main difference that I have for 2023 compared to 2022 is instead of having those negative emotions associated with that situation, obviously I still have negative emotions because, he's my dad. I love him. And seeing him growing through something like that is just destroying me in a way. But now I'm forcing myself to keep as much the better and the positive that I can. And the meet that I had, the qualifying meet that I had, um, I think told me that that's the way to go. Some people maybe like Gavin can go into dark places mentally and get away with it, and that really helps them out. But in my case, I think it just destroys me, and at some point, I'm just throwing myself under the bus. And it's not like I'm not going to under a bar thinking like I want this weight to crush me like Gavin. It's more so I need strength to do that, and I'm going to do that. And unfortunately for myself, I'm too stubborn and I'm too good of a grinder. So sometimes during one given training session, I was maybe hitting 50 seconds of grind, 1 minute of grind in total. And yeah, at some point my body just gave in. And that's how it happened. So I think that's the main difference with 2023. It's um and yeah, and so I probably won't see my dad prior to Worlds because he's in Greece and I won't really have a lot of time off to go see him. And so the last thing he told me was, "This year you win Worlds."
Oh shit.
Yeah,
You're like, Dad, you see those nominations?
yeah.
Like,
But he doesn't care.
he
He
doesn't
doesn't
care.
care.
He's like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
Holy smokes, man. Talk about some motivation.
yeah. And so, you know, um, so prior to him saying that to me, I was like, "This year I'm winning Worlds, no matter what." And uh, and yeah, so he told me that like just the day that I left, just at the moment that we separated each other. So yeah, it's done, man.
It's
I'm
that's
winning
that's
Worlds this year.
that's some crazy motivation, Penna. He
Yeah,
watched you win worlds already, though. That's also
yeah,
that's been done. So you've done a lot already. Don't
yeah,
put all
yeah,
the pressure in the world on yourself. Um, I mean, it's a lot of motivation and pressure, but just keep that in mind. You've given a lot to him. You've shown him a lot. Like the man that you've become, what you've accomplished, he's already seen so much. You know what I mean? So however this cookie crumbles, don't be telling yourself,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
This time
Because
I don't have it the wrong way around. Like if I don't win Worlds, I'm going to kill myself. No, that's not where I come from. It's more so, so the way so my daddy isn't the type to say stuff like that lightly. And
mm,
so I do believe that just the fact that he told me that means that he's confident that I I gained the self-reflection that I needed in order to be where I need to be in order to win worlds. And so I think if he told me that, it's for me to keep that in mind that he believes that I will win worlds.
mm.
I do believe I feel it that way, not in the way like, oh, if I don't win worlds, my dad is going to be disappointed. I don't have that in mind right now. It's more so yeah, he thinks I will win worlds and I'm just going to make it happen. And to go on a little lighter subject, but still heavy, every single lifter, athlete, people that I meet, like French top junior nationals, or like, for instance, when I was on the plane to Greece, I got recognized by somebody at the airport, and every single person that I meet right now, they're like, it's for you this year. Like, you will win worlds.
Really?
Like everybody. And I don't know, man. It's I don't know how to describe it. Um, it's as if they're 100% that I'm going to win worlds. It's not saying like, hey man, you have to win. It's more so we know you're going to win. And obviously easier said than done, especially this year with all of those like really talented lifters, really strong lifters. But yeah, like I said, and I'm not saying it to be cocky, because you know me, you know that that's not the type that I am. But yeah, this year I'm going to win worlds. There's no other way around it. My training is going well. I have gained the self-reflection that I needed. Um, I have my dad with me, so yeah, this year I'm not letting it slip through my finger. It's through my fingers. Another year. It's this year is for me. And the cooler part is that if I win worlds this year, I win it against the best 66s
Oh, it's
in history.
by far, by far. It's insane. It's a murderer's row. 3 guys nominated 7'10" and up.
Yeah,
Absolutely insane. This is the best of the best of the best.
yeah.
It would
So
be
it will
magical.
be like the cherry on the cake.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I got a few notes here, like I always
Yeah,
do when I so bear with me. First off, when you're talking about training and how the motivation when you would picture your dad and it would just like you'd be like throw on 10 more kilos when you were already at the top end. You're like, no, we're going 10 more. And you could dig into that well. That's for people who, the Russian Olympic team, they realized they were doing the mind body connection. Like, for instance, they would do, if you were to close your eyes and I talked about a lemon and I made you picture every contour, everything about that lemon, just picturing it mentally. And then I told you, picture me slowly putting a knife through that lemon. Your mouth starts watering. And it's a physical response to a mental image. And they realized that is real. And the American Olympic coach, who's for Olympic weightlifting, Tommy Kono, he's famous. Like, I read his autobiography. He had a book out, and one of his chapters in his book, he talks about this, the mental connection physically, and what adrenaline and whatnot can do for people, and how you could trigger adrenaline releases. I mean, crazy amounts. This is what makes a deer run, like jump over fences and whatever. Like, it's insane what we all can do. And we're still animals and we could do this as well. And Tommy Cano has a magazine cover on his wall in his office. Every time a lifter walks in his office, they see that magazine cover. And on the magazine cover, it's Time magazine. And it says incredible strength, all capital words or capital letters, incredible strength. And people are like, who's on the cover of that magazine? Was it, Paul Anderson? Was it Mark Henry? Was it, what American Olympic weightlifter was on the cover of that said incredible strength? It was the picture of the mother that lifted the car so her child could get out from under it. And in that moment, I mean, vertebrae, so much physical damage to her body. But for the moment she needed it, it was there. And it's incredible what her achievement she did. And her body was ravished afterwards. She didn't give a fuck. She saved her child. He's like, I have that magazine of all magazine covers up on the wall. So when you see me backstage and I tell you, I need you to go 20 kilo up, and you tell me, I don't think I got 20, I got 15. I tell you, you got 20. Search. Yes, you do. If you need it, it's there. Yeah, you got 20 in you, but you need to find it. Because if you need it, it's there. Do whatever you got to do to find it, but you find it today because the bar's getting loaded. That is the conversation. That's why he has that. When he calls you into his room, Pena, can I talk to you? And they have the American training facility. So you're all at the facility. You walk into his office and you see that on the wall, and he's talking to you about when he needs you to do, etc. It gets your mind right real quick about the mind body connection. Like if you need it, it's there. And when I ask you to do it, I'm asking you to call upon something maybe you didn't think you could do before we step foot into that arena. But today's different, huh? Today's going to be different when we load that final bar. So, anyways, to your point about imagery and how you'd be like, I would be at the limit. If I could find it, I could search it. It would be hurtful. But I put myself in that situation and I would have 10 more. And I'd be loaded. And you fucking load it up. And you do it too many days in a row, and the body, just like the lady on the magazine cover, your body's like, your heart's stronger. Your belief is stronger than your body even. That's the beauty of humans, man. Sometimes our belief system and inspiration can be stronger than our bodies. When your arms and your legs get weak and bone starts tearing, that fucking heart can keep going. And like Evander Holyfield, you'll answer that bell again when everyone would totally understand if you didn't answer the bell. But you lost. You can't win. I'm going to answer that bell. I'm going to answer that bell anyways, though. That's not how it goes. It's a beautiful thing, man. It's dark. It's beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, it for sure. And I kept that going for weeks, not days, for weeks.
Yeah, well, that's you slept for 18 hours a day at the end. It's you got a taste for how crazy you could push your body.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, and now like, how did that make me a better personal lifter? That right now, when I feel that my body's done for today, I don't force myself into that mental state all the time. Obviously, sometimes you have to, and I still do it obviously from time to time. But again, like for instance, today I wanted to squat more than what I did, and I was like, call it there, stop. Like don't push yourself in that corner where you're like, yeah, I have to do that right now because Worlds is like in 8 weeks and this and that. So yeah, I think that's where like my 2023 self is different than the 2022 is. I'm not into that same exact mindset prior to Worlds. We're 8 weeks out. So basically, what happened was my dad has been sick from COVID. Since COVID, he has been sick. Surgeries, this and that, on and on for years now. So pretty much 4 years now, 3-4 years. And so he was called in the hospital for just a check. And I think it was in April from last year, if I'm not mistaken. So pretty much a year day to day. And so I wasn't there at that moment. And so he's like, yeah, I'm just going in for a check. Nothing crazy. Like, okay, cool. A week later, he's not out. And I'm like, yeah, what's going on? It was for a check. And he's like, yeah, they have to run a couple of other exams, take some days. I'll be out soon. Then the week became 2 weeks. Then it became a month, 2 months. And then it became like, my dad is going to sit in that hospital bed for 3 months, something like that. So it either was March or April, I can't remember exactly, but it was there. And so yeah, so when I was prepping for Worlds, it was April, May, pretty much that same time. So I was going to see my dad in the hospital and so on and so on and so forth. And so in May, he actually got like crazy surgery, like life-changing surgery. And it was actually during the time where my training started to have a higher intensity for Worlds. And so when I saw him in that hospital bed right after that last big surgery that he had, it was when things were tougher for me in terms of strength, in terms of training. And so that's exactly where I got this image where I was allowed to push myself way more than I could have and should have for weeks ongoing. And so what happened was just prior to the comp, so I left, can't remember exactly the day that I left to go to Worlds, but the day that I left is exactly the day that my dad went out of the hospital. And so for just 10 minutes, I was able to see him. So I saw him for 10 minutes, then had to go to the airport. But just those 10 minutes that I saw him kind of changed the image that I had going into Worlds in South Africa. And so prior to my 250 squat or whatever lift that I did, when I was closing my eyes, I wasn't seeing my dad on that hospital bed, like with that surgery where I couldn't recognize him, I saw him at home, like hugging me just prior to me leaving. And so I wasn't in that same emotional state that during my training sessions. Again, more that like destructive mindset. I was more so in that, man, I just have to show him. Like he shows me how strong he is and what kind of person that he is, then I have to show him back and be like, you know what?
Mm.
You raised a good kid, and you raised somebody strong and somebody that can be trusted. And that's the mentality that I have right now. I still think a lot of him when training, when approaching a heavy weight. I do draw a lot of strength from him again, but first, not all the time. Right now, where for Worlds, my prep for Worlds 2022, it was like every single session I was thinking of my dad. Now I don't do that every single session. And when I do so, the times where it's like more destructive are really, really few, although they do still happen because it's hard to control, obviously. But more so like a lot of those sessions are more so cathartic in a way where I'm like I'm that he's the strongest man that I know, and I'm his son, so I must have gotten some strength off of him. Let's put that to the test. That's the way I approach right now those things, which is why I think 2023 will be different than what 2022 has been for me.
And when I say obviously it's a beautiful thing, I mean the human will, not the
Yeah,
imageries
yeah,
and
for
all
sure.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Just to clarify, but yeah, it's well, a couple things. First off, um, I'm glad, yeah, you found like a different way of handling it as well. That's more healthy to you. Do you think like what if you didn't have weightlifting at this moment during the darkest of times there? Do you think it still was a positive to be able to go in there and channel
Yeah,
it in a direction?
yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. I don't want to say I used to be a depressed kid because I think depression is something serious. And I do think at some points we all have downs in our lives, and it's not necessarily depression. But yeah, prior to finding powerlifting, I wasn't really a happy human being, I could say. Although, I have my parents that I really love and brother and have a happy family, but I personally wasn't feeling happy myself with myself. And since I started powerlifting, I found that peace where I don't have those questions anymore. So that's exactly what I was referring to when I said that, in a way, powerlifting saved me. And that's what I refer to when I say that I express myself through powerlifting. It's insane. Instead of keeping those emotions inside me to drive me insane, to depress me, I'm just expressing everything. And yes, so it's kind of cliche to say, yeah, powerlifting saved me, but yeah, I don't know what I would do um at that moment if I wasn't able to express myself through powerlifting. And although my body gave up at the end, um, it still, I think, allowed me to keep going because, yeah, otherwise, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah, I don't even think it's cliche to say that, dog. People don't things save you all the time. Things save us all the time. People who like say like, "Oh, that's cliche." Man, how long have you been around? What have you been through yet? Maybe you just haven't been through something yet. There will be a point in your life when life is going to throw you something and you are going to be completely lost. And then you are going to look for something to save you. You're going to look for something, you're going to grasp onto something and be like, thank God, I'm just going to focus on this. And this is going to be my beacon of light. Everything around me is dark right now, but I have one beacon of light beaconing off in the distance, and I'm going to just head towards that in a world of darkness. And that little beacon is all I got right now. And if that went out, I don't know what I would be. I would be lost in this darkness. But I got that little beacon. And for some people, they don't get it. You don't get it because you haven't been there yet. But it's going to come. The dark
Yeah.
night's going to come at some point. I just hope you find that beacon when it comes. And so anyways, that's just like whatever. If people think that's cliche. Um, And during that moment, so yeah, I'm glad you found powerlifting. And powerlifting is done in terms of what powerlifting is done for you, not even just like, even if you weren't a world champion, which obviously people will be like, yeah, well, you became a world champion. Not everyone be a world champion. No, but even if you never became a world champion,
Yeah.
the reffing, the volunteering, to get involved in the federation, you found your community, you found your people. And people like, yeah, you're a great coach. What if you're not a great coach? You're a great coach. You came around in France at a time when there wasn't a lot of people who spoke English and were going out beyond France to get programming. So you're like, I need to learn English, do online studies through Mike T's online classes, learn how to program, bring that into France, and rise up people like Leah Bavois, Noemi Alabert, and bring the first wave, if you will. If you heard of these people, they're pretty good. And Turbo Tiff, whatever. Now we got second wave, third wave, fourth wave. I got you. But before other people did that yet, before like we had the outside of France influence coming into France, somebody, it wasn't just that. You had to work on these things and be like, and just become a part of it. So for a lot of people can do things like that. You just got to be ambitious and just be like, I'll figure a way. There's online class. There's no one in France here. There's online classes. Mike T, who's a goat, who's as reputable as they come, he's got online classes. Jump in, study, make it your passion, and be the change you want to be. As cliche as that might be to say, you did, man. You were like, nah, I'm gonna figure it out. And then you become the first wave and you become entrenched in powerlifting. And you were the first French person, like from that wave that we had on King of the Lifts, and was like doing all of this. Now, people now could be like, there's so many other people that it'd be like, was Penna the leader of the French Revolution? Why did you guys say that? At some point, it's like Matt Gary, where it's like, I need to sit you down and really talk to you about what it was before, what it was during, what it was after, and start drawing. People talk about game day handling, and there's 6 degrees of connection to Matt Gary always when it comes to the goats. Joey Flex is just on the podcast. He's like, we all use his teachings when he would literally teach classes on it. There's 6 degrees of separation, I feel like, to you through France at some point, or rather with almost everybody. It's crazy. Yeah. Anyways, man, no one's singing your praises, but it's the truth. I also wanted to ask you about, in that moment when you were leading it to Worlds, you were on a podcast, and it's kind of come current again, where there was talk about trash talk in the USAPL between like Brendan Petrie, Russ, etc. It's become prevalent. But in that moment, you and Joe Jordan were engaging in some trash talk. And it was, now that we see what you were going through mentally and what powerlifting was for you at the moment and everything that was going on, you literally ended up sleeping 18 hours a day for how you were having nightmares, you weren't sleeping, you were blah, blah, blah. And in that moment is when you and Joe Jordan were getting into it. And you're like, no, I took offense. You came on the podcast like, I took offense. And I remember I was like, I don't know, man. I don't think it was that offensive. You're like, nah, fuck that. You're like, whatever. Now that it's all past, George Jordan's a 74 and everything's all past or whatever. When you look back on it, how do you see it in terms of like, you and Joe were good, by the way, like, not like he's like whatever, but how do you feel about it all now? How do you feel about George Jordan in the whole situation looking back?
So I'm really stubborn, and sometimes I took things in a way that maybe not have to be taken that way, but that's how I take them. And I go through the motto where I want to be nice to everybody. I want to help out everybody, but I I cannot be friends with everybody. And if you don't want to be friends with me, I'm okay with that. But then we're not friends. And I really can't be neutral to people. It's something hard for me to do. So either I like people and I can like people easily, or I like despise you and then we have a problem. And so that was the way with Joe Jordan. And it wasn't so honestly, obviously, maybe I took things not the right way because of where I was mentally and what was happening to me at that moment. And like you say, I didn't want to go public about it. And I do believe that in a way, the fact that I'm mentioning that right now in the podcast with you is because it's in English, and a lot of French people won't understand. And that's a protection for me because I don't want everybody to know my situation. And for me right now, I'm not doing a podcast. I'm talking with a friend. So
That's
that's
the thing. You know how often?
that's
Well, first off, this will be on YouTube. People have French captions, so easy now, easy now. But on the flip side, when I talk to you, Gavin, Taylor, Kaiko, whoever, it's crazy how I forget I'm doing a like I don't forget I'm doing a podcast, but like it doesn't feel. People talk to me often about they're like, Ryan, you guys end up talking, but you're not like asking specific, like, can you ask them this question, that question? It's like, no, we have a discussion.
yeah,
Sometimes I'll come in with questions, but more often I'll have certain topics I'd like to discuss. So I'll have notes be like, yeah, I should probably discuss this because I actually I'm interested in that. But we're gonna talk. We're gonna have a discussion. On King of Lists, we have discussions, man. People are like, why do you do 2 hours? Sometimes we don't get to we on the second hour, we got real good. And it's like, damn.
yeah,
Like sometimes that's the way it goes, man. Like some of these podcasts with Gavin Taylor, whatever, recently it's been like right now, dude, I got news for you. It's happening right now. Here we go
yeah,
again. But
100%.
it happens. But like that's how a conversation goes, man. Not question answer. And then when we're done, like if I ask you a question, you answer it, and then we move on. Some things bring back. We double back or whatever, man.
Yeah, yeah,
But
100%.
yeah, but I got you. Anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
go on.
So yeah, so yeah, maybe, but that was because of that. I don't know, but yeah, I took things a wrong way, and I think I talked to that. I talked to you about that like privately and personally. But right now in the 66s, there are like a couple of names where I'm like, yeah, I'm a little bummed by something that they did or say. And that's okay. I think I don't want to start trash talking because that's not my mentality. That's not me. So obviously, right now, if somebody starts trash talking me, then I'll probably answer, but in a nice way, obviously. And I don't want to start it myself. So I'm like, yeah, okay. He said that. Okay, I'll remember that. And sometimes it helps me. Like it drives motivation for me because I'm like, I'm going to shut his mouth. And so that was basically the thing with Joe Jordan, where he said some stuff and I was like, you know what, chill out, dude. You're not. So he was basically quoting Mike Tyson and or Ali, like I'm the greatest. I'm the like I think it's a Mike Tyson coach quote like I'm the greatest. I'm the most brutal. I'm the most vicious.
Yeah,
Nobody can
yeah,
stop me. I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. Whatever. So he was putting that audio in his lifts and he was like, yeah, I'm going for the heads, whatever. And so for me, like in France or I don't know, maybe it's a French thing, like you can't say that and expect the person that you're targeting that quote to be like neutral towards you.
mm,
Obviously, I'm going to want to rip your head off because you said that. And that was basically my beef with Joe Jordan was he talked too much, said a lot of things, hadn't done a lot to back his claims. And I was like, I'm going to teach him a little lesson. Sadly enough, I wasn't able to. Um, and then we squashed the beef. We got into the DMs and we're good now. We're good now. Like I said, probably we'll never be friends. And again, I'm okay with that. We don't have to be, but at least I'm back to neutral with him, and that's fine with me. But yeah, now I have a couple of grievances towards some of my fellow competitors as a 66. And I'm going to keep that to myself, not create beefs. But yeah, I have a couple of things in mind, a couple of quotes
well, listen,
that
we got a few weeks to go, so maybe we're gonna.
maybe if something at some point gets overboard, I'll maybe mention it. I'll maybe address it, and I hope to give them the dime of what they need and expect. But yeah, um, so yeah, that's how I go. And honestly, I'm like that in life in general. Like because I try to be as empathic as I can, and I try to think of others as much as I can. I try not to hurt feelings when I'm saying something, when I'm expressing something. So when people don't have the same amount of I would call it respect towards me. That rubs me the wrong way, and I'm like, okay, let's go. You're not neutral to me now. You're an enemy. You're on my list, and we'll have that settled. Don't worry.
See, the thing with sport, it's a little different because oftentimes it's like it's literally competition. It's literally sporting rivals. You're both going for the same thing, and there can only be one, right? So it breeds this, right? It breeds that out of it. And then some people will be boastful about their potential, etc. And then, but that also means, yeah, they're going to take it from you. Like I'm going to crush. Oh, you're going to crush me though.
Yeah,
So
that's it.
it
That's
becomes
it.
like, no,
That's it.
I just mean I'm confident. I got
No,
you, but it means you're going to
no,
crush me though,
no.
because I'm the guy
That's
you're
what you
going against.
need.
So it becomes on the flip side though, it's a little different than because it's sport. It's not so much like that person might be like if they get to know you, whatever. I think I told you last time with Joe Jordan, but like 5 years pass, all that's behind you, it might be totally different.
Yeah,
And
maybe.
it's different, or if the very least neutral, because he's like, man, that's so like it's like remembering when you remember something 5 years ago, like a competition you had, it might not be, you're like, man, whatever.
Yeah,
If the sporting rivalry is over
yeah.
and you
But on
both
that
moved
moment,
on.
I think it's fine on that moment to be like, "Fuck you, man." You know what I mean?
No,
It's like on
it's
that moment, it's
motivation.
like
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
okay,
yeah. You got to be
okay,
present, and
yeah,
it actually boosts you. It makes you get train
yeah,
harder and be
100%,
like, oh, this guy wants to beat me, and it makes you
100%.
train whatever. And then it just pushes you push each other to the limit, and then that's when beautiful things happen on the platform or whatever sport it is. But so yeah, in this year, there's no shortage of killers. This is the craziest year, and hopefully everybody makes it there. I'm looking at the nominations real quick. I was going to bring this up. So we got Brian Lee, Kyoto Ushiyama, and Kasem Sand, Sen Yumong. I'm gonna have from Thailand. I'm gonna have to get some of these names down pat because like I'm probably not pronouncing it properly. But all of them are killers. How much have you seen of these gentlemen? Did you watch PA Nats? You obviously watched Sheffield. I'm not sure. I seen Kasem Sand from Thailand, but he is for anyone listening, the current world record holder. Kyoto unofficially taken the world record at Japanese nationals. I reposted, actually, I know you've seen that. I reposted, we talked about it. And then obviously Kyoto, like that was a week before Sheffield, which is sometimes you have to do nationals. People like, why'd you, maybe who knows what the background story is. And then Brian Lee, phenomenal showing at PA Nats. What are you thinking? What are your impressions? These guys are pretty strong.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, I will tell you something that prior to talking with you on podcasts, I wouldn't be okay with, but now I'm 100% okay with that. Worlds is different. So you can come in with your national total, which is over the world record, whatever, and then, but wait till we get to Worlds, and then we can talk, and then we can see. And I think all of those totals haven't been made at a world stage. So honestly, although obviously there are really strong totals, I don't take them for granted, and nor should they, because what is going to happen and to matter isn't the nomination with which you come into Worlds, it's whatever we will all do on that given day. And so they can come in with a 720 total, 730 total, 740, 7 whatever. I don't care because we're all going to set that in Malta on the 11th, 12th, can't remember exactly the date, but on that day of June, that's when we're going to settle that up. So yeah, they can come in with those totals. They can come in with the unofficial world records, whatever. Doesn't matter to me.
I remember you telling me one time, you're like, I had this discussion about totals or whatever, and you're like, brother, if you know what I've totaled in the gym before, he's like,
100%.
you're like, it would blow your mind what I've hit. Like I know what I can hit, but like obviously you've been to several world championships now and Euros, which is crazy high as well. And you're like, it doesn't matter. On the day of,
100%.
anything can happen. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So they're strong. Obviously, they're strong, probably the best lifters in the 66 kilo class history, 100%. They all have those massive deadlifts on them, which probably will make them pull after me, which I will pull before them, so they'll pull after me. Um, but you know, I honestly don't mind about that, because it's about that total and it's not about the last deadlift. Obviously, the last deadlift plays a role, but it's about that total. And I think that the strength that I have over them is I'm way more experienced than them right now, because I have them out of us all. I had the most world stage appearance or Euros appearance. Um, and so yeah, so I think for that reason, um, you know, I don't take them lightly, 100%, because I do believe they're the strongest in the 66 kilo weight class history. I just do believe that come Worlds, I'll be on top for that reason. Because right now I have a reason that I can't lose. I have a reason to win Worlds, and I'm putting in the means to make that reason like happen. Um, because I'm smarter with my training. I feel stronger right now. Something that was maybe something holding me back for the past was like my squat technique that was borderline. Now it's not anymore. And my strength is back 100%. Like I've hit a 720 kilo total gym training session last Saturday under the circumstances that I described earlier to you. So yeah, so again,
Did Anissa judge that squat? Then I'm
yeah, she did.
confident.
Yeah,
Okay.
she
All
did.
right. All right.
Yeah, she
Okay.
did. Don't
All
worry.
right. Everyone
She's
listening is
judging.
like, okay, that's fair. That's
She's
fine.
judging my
Yeah.
lifts right now.
Yeah.
She
Okay.
said that my pose on the bench wasn't 100%. So that's
Okay. Well,
something
that's
I'll clean
honest.
up.
I'm not.
That's something that
Okay.
I'll clean
There
up
we go.
100%. But yeah, so what I mean by that is we all are. I think we all are capable of hitting close to 720. Whether it be like all four of us are able to do that 720 kilo total. And it's just a matter of like who's going to execute better, who's going to execute the most, who's going to be the most at the standard. And if by the past I was maybe behind in terms of standard on my squat depth, whatever starting position, I do believe that some of them are behind right now on some standards. And I hope that they train to the world standard because it's not the same. And if they don't, they're going to be surprised.
It's difficult to explain what worlds feels like. A lot of people, like, how many times after a big event, I have people on that were at who were at the event. Sheffield Euros happens every time. Worlds, people come back, and for the people who did Worlds for the first time, how many people come on and be like, it's just different. It's difficult
Yeah,
for me to explain. It's just different. I don't know.
it is.
I've done USAPL nets. I've done, and they're like, frig, that was not like people watching, like, why are the totals going down? And usually they go down like 5% or what, which is significant.
Yeah,
5%
yeah.
is, and they're like, why does that happen? You'll find it's just different. You throw away whatever you think is going to happen, it's going to be a dogfight. And it's going to get ugly. People are going to miss lifts. Calls will get reversed, and upsets happen, and it's crazy. And I don't got to tell you because you've been to enough of these things. And Euros is no different, right? Like in terms of
It's
upsets
worse.
happening, and yeah,
Honestly, Euros is a step above Worlds. Like this year's Euros, like Emil Krastev bombed out for depth, didn't happen at Worlds. I bombed out for starting position and depth, didn't happen at Worlds. At Worlds, I got all of my squats in, and my position was significantly more leaned forward. So this year, Euros, like Gustav Hedlund almost bombed out
yeah.
for depth. So
And these are
Euros
studs.
this year,
These are studs. You guys, all the people you named are like international
yeah,
superstars. Like these
yeah.
are just people who
We
don't
know how to
know.
play the game. We know how to
Yeah.
play the game, and we got caught. Um, and yeah, off the top of like Sasha, also the German guy from the '93,
Yeah.
also almost bombed out. So like Euros this year was like just a slaughter, and it just shows the standard to which we have to lift, and none of these gentlemen in my weight class right now have faced that. So I do believe that in terms of that meet experience, I'm above them for that reason. And so yeah, so then it's a matter of strength, and in terms of strength, I think I'm as strong as them, if not stronger, right now. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that because that will be the biggest fight in the 66 weight class history. And that's something that I want to experience. And like I said, when I won Worlds in 2021, I won with 692.5 for the winning total, which to me was a light total compared to what I wanted to do. Happened, and I learned what Worlds is. And now I do believe that this year I make happen what I said in 2021 was where I was like, not everybody see me as a weak champion. This year, if I win against the best of the weight class history, I can't be seen as a weak champion. I have to be recognized as not necessarily the 66 kilo GOAT, but one of them for sure.
I mean, whoever wins this is who can say anything. I got news for you, man. You podium in this, and it's amazing. Whoever the podium people are all going to have phenomenal totals and be amazing. All on the podium might be above the world record. Like this is let alone the gold medals, silver medals, bronze medals. Like it's stacked. It's a beautiful class. This might be the best division, the division to watch at Worlds. It's a very special showdown.
And I'm happy.
It is so special. I mean,
Yeah.
look at the guy, 3 people, 7'10" and up, and then yourself who's a world champion and the star power you bring and the battles you've had. Yeah, dude, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
I also want to ask you about you ran into Grizzly and you guys were shooting videos and like, dog, how did this happen? First off, what you met Grizzly? How did this happen, dude? What is
Man,
going on?
that was insane. So basically, I wasn't supposed to go to Greece because my dad was supposed to come back to France, but he didn't, and he told me I won't be back for a moment. So I was like, I just can't go a month, 2 months without seeing my dad, who's in that situation. So there was a week where I didn't have any meet plan, no nothing. So I was like, that's where I had to go to Greece. So I went there, and when I'm there, I'm like, you know what? I'll just shoot Grizzly a DM. So he only speaks Greek. I speak fluently Greek. So I shoot him a DM in Greek, and I'm like, hey man, like, yeah, I'll be in Greece from that date to that date. If you're available, let's do something together, like whatever. He's like, yeah, man, for sure. So for people who don't know, like Grizzly works 5 nights a week, and he's 49. So he has a really tough life. So he's like, I
I
have
didn't
my
know that.
job, and yeah, it's crazy. And he's like, so if that doesn't happen because of work, and if you can make it happen, we'll make it happen. So I'm like, okay, cool. Then I'm in Greece, and there's a day where my dad is actually at the hospital for the whole day and the night, and I can't be with him. So I'm like, I didn't want to sacrifice a day with my dad to go shoot something with Grizzly, as much as I love him, because I was there to see my dad as much as possible. So on that day where I knew that my dad wasn't available, I'm like, the day before I'm shooting Grizzly a DM, he immediately calls me. Like he doesn't answer my DM, he calls me, and I'm like,
He calls you.
he
Wow.
calls me like immediately. And I'm like, oh, I might answer like really quickly. So
You're
I
like,
answer the
did
phone,
you
and
answer?
he's
Did
like,
you answer Grizzly?
yeah, man. He called me like through Insta, so I saw like Kapakulak calling me, and I was like what the fuck? So I answer, and
Yeah,
he's like,
you
yeah,
do.
man. You know what? You told me that tomorrow is a good day for you, so it's a good day for me also because I don't work tonight. So tomorrow I won't be tired. And he goes, I may have strained my lower abs, whatever, during training. I don't feel that well. But you know what? Just come along and we'll see what happens. I'm not promising you that we're going to train because I don't know how I'll feel tomorrow, but just come along. And I'm like, Grizzly isn't the type of person where you can be like, hey man, so I'm coming tomorrow. I'm going to ask you questions, this and that. I was like, that's good enough for me. Let's go there and see what happens. So he lives in a really nice city of Greece. It was like 2 hours away from where I was staying.
Dude, you
And he,
traveled 2 hours?
yeah, I traveled 2 hours to see him.
Damn. That's
Yeah, and
Grizzly.
so it's a nice place in Greece. So I was like, you know what? Even if we can do something with Grizzly, I'll stay there for the day with Anissa. We'll chill. We'll have a nice day. Something
Yeah, yeah.
somewhere I've never been. A city that I've never been to in Greece. And I was like, that will be fine. So we pull up there, and a crazy story. So I said to Grizzly. we're going to be there at 12:30, and we got late, like half an hour late. So on the road, I called him and I'm like, yeah, Grizzly, so we're going to be half an hour late. He goes, fuck, dude, fuck, you're killing me right now, fuck, dude. And he goes crazy about it. And on the other way of the phone, I'm like, oh shit, like what's going on? Like maybe he will cancel the whole thing. And so he didn't cancel. And the reason why he told me like I'm a really punctual dude. Like if you tell me 12, I'm there 30 minutes prior. So when you told me that you were going to be 30 minutes late, I was like almost an hour in and waiting just for you. So
Whoa,
that's why
whoa.
on the way I was like, oh man, like I'm going to pull up and he's going to be mad at me. He's going to be crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And he ended up being like the sweetest guy. He's a sweet soul. He's exactly how people view him in videos. He's like that for real. Like it's not a
Really.
character that he plays. The screams. So he explained me the screams. So the scream isn't something he does for clout or views. He says that whenever he lifts or whenever he's spotting somebody that lifts, he gets all of those emotions inside of him, like anger, hype, fear. Like he gets all of that. And so he just lets that go. And the way he lets that go is through his screams. And so I posted a bench that I did. And so he screams on that bench. And he wasn't screaming because I was recording whatever. He screamed because he actually was wanting me to complete the lifts and he wanted to give me that energy, that hype. And he also was afraid of me lifting the weight. So so that was, man,
That was
that
an awesome
was
bench video, by the
insane.
way. That was amazing. With Grizzly, how is he? What is his background? Was he a power lifter? Was he Olympic lifter?
So he was an
Strongman?
Olympic weightlifter.
Okay,
He was
got
an Olympic
you.
weightlifter. But he told me that so in Greece, Olympic weightlifting was quite big because we had a lot of Olympic gold medalists in the 90s, 2000s. And so he was doing Olympic weightlifting for that. But what he told me was he actually enjoyed powerlifting more than Olympic weightlifting. But back
Mm.
then, powerlifting wasn't a thing. In Greece, still today, it's not a thing really. I struggled a lot to find a gym with somewhat good equipment. I was fortunate enough to find the Greek Federation president gym that had an Eleiko rack and an Eleiko bar, so I could train there with good circumstances. But yeah, so he told me that he told me some numbers that he did when there was no Instagram involved, whatever. Man, it's crazy.
How strong he was?
Like we're talking taking 200 kilos for reps on bench, like tens.
Oh wow.
We're talking like squatting 300 plus for reps. We're talking deadlifted 340, 50 plus for reps. He was insane. Like his belt, his weightlifting belt, it's 175 centimeters tall length, which is taller than me.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like my height. I think.
It's taller. Yeah, it's probably close to your height. It's taller than me. So it means that his belly round, it's one
Oh,
meter and 75 centimeters.
crazy.
He's out of this world.
Crazy.
He's out of
Dude,
this world.
was he on the Greek national Olympic team or
I don't think so. I don't think so.
no? But I didn't know his background, but he just became famous. Obviously, he became famous like 20 years after his Olympic that's how it
That's it.
happens sometimes though.
Yeah.
People retire. Like CT Fletcher was a power lifter in the early 2000s and like
Yeah.
15 years later became famous. In his mid 50s, he became
Yeah.
famous. And
Yeah.
then, I mean, from there, he's on Joe Rogan and blah, blah, blah. He's CT Fletcher now, but people become famous long afterwards. They just become in like social media personalities, like on the back nine of their life. It's crazy how it works. But here we are. And here's Grizzly, who's like a character who doesn't even know English. And he's
Yeah.
on social media. Everybody knows who he is.
Yeah. It's crazy. And he's a character, man. And just to show what a character he is, at the end of the so I shot a YouTube video that isn't out yet, but it will be soon. And so at the end, I'm like, it would be cool if we just do a scream like one of your like mainstream screams, just for the meme, right? And he's like, sorry, no. He's like,
Really?
I scream when it happens.
I like
And
that.
yeah,
He's like,
100%.
this isn't a
And
gimmick. You
yeah,
guys, he's
it's
like, oh,
not.
you think it's a gimmick? No, this
Yeah,
is actually
it's not.
the way I am.
100%. And so he told me I already screamed in the video when you were benching, and that was real. And we don't have to do it again. It happened at that moment.
I actually respect the shit out of
I
that.
was like, I'm happy you said no at the end.
Yeah, now
I'm
it's
happy
like
you
it's
said
even
no.
better.
Yeah, it's even better. It's even better.
Wow.
And so, we did so he has a like a little sledge that it pulls and pushes, and it's 100 kilos. And he was like, ready to do some? And I was like, I have worlds coming up in some weeks, so let's not push it. And he was like, don't worry, we won't load it. We'll have fun. And he made me do 50 reps
Yeah. And how was
with a
it? What?
100 kilo. And so I was pushing, and he was pushing back at me. I was
Oh,
pushing, he was pushing.
I seen that.
Yeah. And so at the end, I was destroyed. Like when I
Really?
say
See,
destroyed,
you
I
wouldn't have
was
thought
destroyed.
looking at it. You looking at it, you're like, how bad could it be? But
I was destroyed. So
whoa.
we started on one corner of his gym and we finished at the other corner because I lost so much ground because of
Because
that. And at the end, he was
he,
he
he
didn't
pushes you
move.
right into the parking lot and he's like, okay, now,
Yeah, yeah.
now you
And he
leave.
wasn't stopping. Like he was seeing that I wasn't pushing back a whole lot at the end. And he was like, man, if you want to survive, you
He's,
gotta do
he's like,
something.
he's like, June 11th. Did you see the
Yeah,
nominations? Let's go. Push back,
yeah,
son.
yeah, that's
Push
it.
back, son. You're like, God damn.
And so he told me, so I wanted to load up 170. So on that day, I wasn't supposed to go that heavy on my lifts, but I did 2 hours. I'm training with Grizzly. I'm like, there's no way I do like
Grizzly, baby.
sixes
Dude,
with
you murdered
130.
it.
Like I can't. So I'm like, you know what? I don't feel good enough to do like a heavy squat single, a heavy deadlift single because I did a 290 deadlift single the day prior. So I wasn't feeling like hitting a huge squat or deadlift, but I was like, I think I can hit a good bench. So he has an old bench, like my feet couldn't really 100% touch the ground, had no leg drive. The bench was slippery. The the bar was up, the plates were off. So, but I'm like, you know what? I'm doing a video with Grizzly. I have to do something. So I'm warming up, and I'm like, oh, that's fine. I feel somewhat decent. I hit 160. I'm like, okay, let's load 170, and whatever happens, happens.
Didn't you do
And so I
172?
and so I tell him I'll load 170, and he goes, no, you'll load 172. I'm like,
Dude, he's such a character.
he is. I'm like, you know what? I think really 170. And he's like, what's your best lift? I'm like, comp wise, it's 170. He's like, okay, today you PR, so you load up 172.5.
Dude, you're like, I don't know if that's how that works. And he's like, it is today.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is today.
He's
You're
like,
in the
I
homeland, man.
don't care. I
Yeah,
don't care.
this is Greece.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
savages. We guard that
Yeah.
wall. Recognize where you're from. Go outside, grab a piece of that soil and rub it in your hands, son. And
That's it, man.
you're like, I'm gonna do this today.
And
Right?
so what I did was I did 150, 160, and then 172.5. So I did like a
Damn.
12 and a half kilo jump on my last attempt. And so, I'm hyping myself up. I'm getting some rest. And he's like, so in Greek, he tells me, Panagiotis Pame, which means like, come on, man, let's go. Like he tells my name. Let's go. Like enough rumbling, enough talking. Like you have to go right now. And you know what? You know how I felt? I don't know if you know the Mike Tyson interview when he's talking about his deceased daughter, and at some point he goes to the guy who is doing the interview. He goes because he was talking some deep stuff, and then he goes, "You have to go now. Like
Holy
you can't stay near me. You have to go now." And he
you
just
know,
ends up the interview, and
scary
it
that'd be
just
Mike
stops.
Tyson. You know, scary Mike Tyson, like, you should leave.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would be before he's done his sentence, my car would have started.
Just imagine, like I think the other guy just peed in his pants,
Yeah, I would
and
be
you know
like,
what?
say less, don't say another word. I'm
When
out.
he said that, I felt the exact same way. I was
Yeah.
like, he's for real. Like he's not
Yeah.
joking. It's not to play a character. Like he's
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
now you have to do it right now. And
Man.
he was so serious about it. He was like, man, don't miss that lift. Like you have to do it. And And so yeah, so I cut the beginning of the video for Insta in order to have it a little shorter and so on and so forth. But he's actually giving me a handoff. And when he's giving me that handoff, I feel the strength, and I'm like, there's no way I missed that weight now.
Oh, can I say
And
something? I
yeah,
want him to give you a handoff in Malta.
man,
Load
I'd
up
like,
200 keys. Let's
yeah,
go.
yeah, I'm ready, man. I'm ready. And so yeah,
Dude,
so I made it fly. And
it's so I'm so happy you guys linked up. This is the beautiful thing in life. You could have easily been like 2 hours out of the way. I don't know. And when you know how many times in life when you're like, no, I'm going. Two
yeah,
hours, we can make it. It's you and
yeah,
your girl. You could
100%.
talk on the way there.
Yeah, that's it.
Dinner when you're there. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's
And
what
again,
life's about,
he
man.
didn't tell me like, yeah, we're shooting a video, whatever. He told me like, come up and we see what's up. Like he told me, I can't promise you anything. I can't offer you anything. Maybe I'm not gonna train, but whatever happens, just come up, just say hi, and we see what's going on.
Damn. No
And
promises.
that's the beauty of it.
It's
No,
such a
he's for
good
real.
story.
No, man,
I
he's
love
like
that he's
he's for
real.
real.
People think he's like a
No, no, no,
Instagram.
no, no.
Wow.
He's 100% for real. And so we also talked about like, I told him like, that people in powerlifting are crazy over you, like really crazy over you. And we talked about like the Jessica Whitner
Oh,
thing.
dude, tell me, because obviously I was
So
gonna ask. What does he
it's crazy.
say?
So the oh that he wrote. So when I told him, oh yeah, you're mentioning the oh, and he was like, no, 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 it's not a oh, it's a oh. And so so
He
just for Jess, if
corrected
she's
your oh.
listening, it's not an oh, it's a oh. And he told me he was
Well,
like,
that's better.
I'm impressed. It's a oh. You know what I mean?
Oh,
That's it.
okay.
That's the
Ah,
O. That's exactly the O. And
okay.
so I told him, I think that people didn't get it that way though. It was more so gotten like an oh, and he was like, oh, really? And he was like bummed about it. He was like, I hope they didn't get it wrong because what I was meaning was, oh,
No, they got it wrong, but it's better that way. It's
yeah,
better. It
yeah,
became legendary. Him and
yeah,
Jess have become like, remember at one point I put I forget what happens. Something happened. He commented on Jess and I commented, and he got way more likes than me. And someone goes, damn, when Grizzly gets more likes than King of Lifts on one of Jess' videos. And then I started doing memes with me and Jess at Worlds. And then I took me out and put him because she was dressed up in a dress as like from Banquet or whatever. And it's him and her together, whatever the hell. And like it became like a thing where it's like Jess and Grizzly and everybody like that was like 2021. Dude, it's been or maybe it's 2022. No, it's
yeah,
2022. Sorry.
yeah.
The
Probably
picture was from
2022. Yeah.
2021. But yes, but anyways, it's been like him and Jess. I don't know how this happens. They've never met. They probably will never meet. But
I can
this
make
is
that
now.
happen.
What's that?
I can make that happen.
Yeah, yeah, you will. Dude, they're gonna get married and have children. And this is how the story ends. Like Game of Thrones, their child will sit on the throne. And this
Yeah,
is
that's it.
and
It's done.
Greece will reclaim itself as
Yeah,
the
100%.
leader of the world again. Just like
100%.
that's how it goes, man. No,
Yeah.
it's crazy how the internet just creates characters, creates storylines. Everyone knows they're not real, but everyone just laughs and leans into them and has a good time with them. But I'm glad that like because there was a language barrier. Nobody got to meet him. Like on Jess's side, Jess is doing podcasts, whatever the hell, right? But like no one got to actually meet Grizzly and be like, for you to go down there because you speak it and you could be like, no, man, he's legit. He's a for real athlete. He comes from an athletic background,
Yeah.
like legit strong, legit competed. And this is actually how he carries himself. Like, I don't know. There's something about I'm glad you did this.
Yeah, and so we did a video with Brutus and Coco, and the video was like a grizzly workout. And so, we pushed it to the extreme where we had like dumb sunglasses, we wore like dumb outfits, and like every 2 seconds of the video we were like shouting, and so it was kind of a meme thing, but also a training. And so when we did that, we were all humbled by what Grizzly was doing because we're strong dudes, right? Coco and Brutus, you know them, like 105 kilos, 120 kilos.
Yeah, they're huge.
Brutus has made the qualifying
I seen.
total, and he's going to Worlds.
That's
Brutus is going
amazing.
to
Dude, when
Worlds.
I was a junior world, because is he a junior?
Yeah, he's
It's crazy as a junior. For anyone
yeah,
listening, Brutus is like 6'6" or 6'7", huge man, freaking bodied up. Like he
yeah,
looks like he should be in an action movie. Like he's
yeah,
a good looking guy. His body is ridiculous. Like he takes off his shirt and you better watch your girlfriend, man.
yeah,
Okay.
man. It
You
was
better watch you. Like, this dude should be in movies somewhere with the size he is and the presence he has. He's got
yeah,
like millions of TikTok followers and social media. Well, I guess. And when we were at Junior Worlds, he was saying, I want to be here next year. I'm like, dog, that ain't easy coming through France. He's like, I'm going to be here next year. So I'm glad he hit the total he needed and qualified, and that's amazing.
yeah.
And
So
he's a super nice
he's
guy.
yeah, and he's part of the team. So he has worked really, really hard for the past years. We worked together. I coach him, and he's living that powerlifting life. And so he behaved like an athlete, like a pro powerlifter for a whole year. And he went from like a 240 squat to like a 290 squats. He went from like a 170 bench to like a close to 200. And he went from like a 280, 90 deadlift to like a 340 deadlift. So now
Holy
he's doing worlds.
smokes, man. Yeah, like
Yeah, so he did well. And so
that's
all of that to
good.
say, all of that to say, we were all humbled by Grizzly's strength because we tried to do the movements that he does. We weren't like nowhere near close his numbers. Like we were really, really far off. And so Grizzly mentioned that video to me where when we met. And I'm like, oh,
Really? Like, oh,
maybe,
damn. Oh, no.
yeah,
You're like,
maybe
Anissa, get
some
the
of that
car
stuff.
ready.
Yeah, get the car ready. We're leaving. And so
We're
you know what?
leaving now.
You know what? He was like, "Oh, that video was funny," and yeah, what numbers did the other two dudes hit? Because I'd like to know, and how
He's
strong
like,
are
the
they?
little guy, the little guy, Coco,
Yeah,
the
the
little
little
guy, Bruce.
guys.
The little guy.
Yeah, the two little guys with whom you trained, and and you know what he said was, "Yeah, oh, they're quite strong, etc., and so on and so forth." And he was actually happy that they didn't match his strength at all, and I think it rubbed him the right way. He was like, "I'm stronger than elite powerlifters. That feels good."
Yeah, yeah. He's like, that's the only reason why that video flied. That's the only reason
Yeah,
why it was
yeah.
all good. He's like, you're weaker than me. It's fine. I'll let it
Yeah,
go.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
God bless.
It was an experience, man.
Dude,
And then so we finished training. Um, we finished training, and then I'm like, oh, do you know any good hotel nearby? Because we'd like to stay because it's a 2 hour drive, but we're here and it's a really beautiful place. And he's like, oh, you're staying tonight? I'm like, yeah, we're staying here tonight just to have fun and enjoy ourselves. And he's like, oh, then we have to meet again tonight and have a coffee, have a drink, and just talk. And so what we did was after the training, we went to change, we found at the hotel, we ate and so on and so forth. And then we met again the night of, and we stayed like 3 hours in a bar
What?
together, and we just
Dude,
chilled there for
stop. Dude,
yeah,
this is amazing, man. I'm so glad you linked up with Grizzly. Isn't life crazy, man?
yeah, it is. And you know what? Like we didn't film anything from that part. When we met again the night of, we didn't film anything. Because for me, it wasn't like, oh yeah, I get to talk with Grizzly. It was more so, the guy invited me and the guy is behaving right with me. I can't shove the camera in his face for
Mm.
4 hours straight and be like ask him always questions and so on and so forth. And so the video actually won't be like a Grizzly interview, whatever. It'll just be a training that we did. And he behaved the way he behaved off and on camera. And that makes it even better. So that was an experience with him, and we got to talk for hours. He talked to me about personal stories. I talked to him about personal stories, and yeah, we had a great moment. He was insane, and just the reaction of people online was so. At some point after the bench, I'm like looking at him with like I'm a child at Disneyland, and
Yes,
people meme
dude,
that,
that meme.
and
I know, I
people meme
seen it.
that.
It's seen it, the squat, bench, deadlift,
Yeah,
squat, mean
yeah,
deadlift, sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
He was like,
it was
get
amazing
get
because
you
it's
get you a girl that looks at you the way Pana looks at Grizzly. It was something along those lines.
yeah, but the thing is, though, yeah, I guess you were probably first off, you hit a PR, which is always amazing. But the
Yeah,
way
yeah.
you describe it, it
No,
really
it
is.
was the experience.
Yeah, you're
It
just in
was
the
the
moment.
experience.
It's a
Yeah.
genuine moment.
He was like, you know what? Today I'm going to give you my strength. Better use it right. And he meant
Wow.
that. Like he meant that. And then he told me something and I was like, I know I'm disappointing you, but I can do any better. He was like, you know what? When I saw you hit 290 yesterday because I posted. He was like, I was a little bummed because I wanted you to hit 295 with me today.
Whoa, shit! I bet you that hurt. You're like, God
Yeah,
damn! You're like, dude, I want to hit 290 with you today too.
yeah, yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
dude,
No, it was
like,
insane.
man, can I say
Yeah,
something?
yeah,
I'm putting a little money aside. I'm flying Grizzly out to Malta.
100%.
And I think, what would you do? What would you do if you walked out in the warm up room and Grizzly comes around the corner? You would look at the other 66s and be like, "That's a wrap,
You're
gentlemen.
done. It's
That's a
done.
wrap. You're done."
Yeah,
That
it's
gold,
done.
Gaston. You know what? Right behind Grizzly, Gaston's following with the gold medal in hand already. Because gentlemen, let's just save everybody a lot of time because
Yeah.
that'd be crazy.
And you know what? So the crazy part of it all is that I didn't go for the meet. You know what I mean? Because he's a human being, and I went there to meet him and to see him, and obviously shoot a couple of nice things, right? Then I became emotional. To be completely honest with you, to be
Really?
completely transparent with you, I became emotional because what he's doing it for real. And so, like I told you, the guy is 49 years old. He works 5 nights a week to get not good money because it's Greece, and Greece like payouts are really really low, um, and it's tough to make a living in Greece. And so Grizzly doesn't have an easy life. So he has all of those followers, he has all of that, and he doesn't make money off of it. He makes €0 off of his online social media presence, zero. So he
Mm,
has a tough life. Works from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m., works 5 nights a week nonstop. And so, when I met him, I didn't know what to expect. And after talking with him, he has a phrase where somebody asked him, what do you train for? And he was like, for the difficult. And that became a meme. And he explained that to me. He was like, I meant that. I'm training for the tough moments. I'm training for the tough times because that's the only answer I found to whatever was happening in my life. Kind of a way that I described what I felt earlier when I say powerlifting is the way I express myself. For him, that was pretty much the same. It's like I'm training right now. I'm doing my strength training. I'm doing those movements because it helps me get through those difficult moments, because it helps me be a stronger person. It helps me be a stronger character. And so when I did the outro of the YouTube video that will come out, I talked about my dad actually, because I said that what I felt with Grizzly today is kind of the way that I felt towards my dad. It's like um, he goes through some rough stuff. My dad went and is still going through some rough stuff. And I felt that although it was really brief and I met Grizzly for 5, 6 hours, he gave me a lot of strength and a lot of energy because that bench we did together, he did it with me.
mm.
And so yeah, leaving Greece, I was like, now I have my dad with me, with the right way, and I bear him with me with the right intentions, but I also have Grizzly now.
Mm.
I also have Grizzly now. And he calls me. He calls me like he called me yesterday. He calls me
What?
daily, and he's like, Pana, you don't hit me up with a DM, you call me. And
Holy
like, fair enough,
fuck.
dude, fair enough. And so I'm sure like if I call him and I'm like, Grizzly, I need some strength, he'll give me that strength, 100%. So now I have my dad with me in my corner for Worlds, and I have Grizzly also. So
Dog,
yeah,
when you're
those
in
other
Malta,
66s have
when
to be
you're
ready, man.
you're in Malta, I see that phone go up to your ear. I
Man,
know,
100%.
I know something's getting loaded on that bar, something crazy. I see
I'll
that
do
phone
I'll
go up
do
to
a
that
I'll do
ear,
a
and I'm
video
like,
call. I'll do a video call with Grizzly prior to
that's
starting
it.
squats.
That's it, Playboy. It's about to happen right now. Some people listen to music, getting the right chorus lined up, whatever. You got Grizzly on there. Give me your
It's
energy.
done.
It's
It's done.
all over. It's all over. You're gonna test positive for Grizzly. It's like,
100%. And
but
the reaction of people online, we
it's
were together,
crazy.
we were talking about it, and we're like, that was it, man. We did it. We did the damn thing.
You did your damn thing, dude. I reposted obviously, and people in the comments like, this is the most random collab I could have possibly seen, but damn, is it entertaining? But
Yeah.
like, damn, this works for me. Like, it was so good. And I'm glad, like, even just life experience, it was a good like link up.
It was, man, it was real. Like 100% it was real. And whatever Grizzly is doing, he's not doing it for views. He's not doing it for the meme. He's real. And the way he talks, whatever he says, the way he screams, everything is legit and everything is real. And I'm so happy that I got to experience that in person because it's even better now. I'm like, he's not doing it for the meme. He's doing it because he's living it.
Yeah, he'll be watching Malta for sure.
I hope so. I hope so. I
Oh,
hope he
come on.
does.
How does he
I hope he
not?
does.
Send him the
Yeah.
link and be like, dude, I'm going in. Make sure you
Yeah.
watch. I mean, even if he's just watching the 76ers and Jessica, I mean, he'd probably be like, all right, well, I'm watching the 76ers, but also, yeah, exactly. He'd be like, I guess I'll stick around for you. I don't know. We'll see. You know, is it the same day as the 76ers? I'll be watching. But God
Yeah.
bless. I'm glad you guys linked up, man. Life is freaking, this is what I tell people, man. I mean, I hate to beat a dead horse, but it's true. Just show up, go travel the world,
That's it.
show up to
That's
different
it.
places and meet people from different places, different cultures, different, like, go out there, man. It's crazy what you're gonna find. Or stick around and do what you've always done and
Yeah.
see how far that gets you.
Yeah.
You know, you'll never be disappointed.
Yeah. You know, when we offered you the to come to commentate for the Salon River Meet event, you were like, I'm going to do like 30 hours of flights just to commentate on one weekend. And you could be like, and we didn't pay you to do so. You could be like, you know what, I'm just going to stick at home, grab a couple of beers with my friends and I'll be good. And you're like, you know what? No, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone, do something that I have no money interest in doing, just to live an experience. And
Dude, I
and you
fucking, I
lived an
loved it.
experience and everybody else also just because of your presence lived an experience. You know what I mean? So it's really a win for everybody. And that's what we were saying at the beginning of the podcast. It was you just have to show up. You just have to give to people, and then you give back, and then you get back. Um,
And you
and
tried to pay me, by the way. For anyone
Yeah,
listening, you were like, yeah, we'll pay you. So wasn't that
yeah,
like you guys
yeah,
were
yeah,
taking
yeah.
care of me
But
like crazy?
you said no, and you did it like just to be there, just to be here with us. And yeah, man, that's what I mean when I say powerlifting changed my life. It's it's not, yeah, my life is better thanks to powerlifting. It's like you said, no matter what happens, if that all ends up in 5 years from now, I still have those insane moments and memories that I lived. And at the end of the day, that's what remains.
Dude, when I talk to people, and they ask me about like the same thing with powerlifting, like where's it all going? What is it all? I'm like they're talking about like monetization and amount that I put in and whatever. And I'm like, I don't care about any, like, I'll for sure monetize what you can, whatever. But I'm just saying, like, if all of this ends in 5 years, I'm looking back like, oh my God, that was amazing. This was a dream. If you
Yeah.
wake, you could, I'd wake up tomorrow and be like, oh my God, was this all real? Like even that when we for the silent worker going out to Paris, man. It's crazy. I'm just going for like the hangs and like we do dinners and drinks and meet people, meet those dudes, Scott and below, crazy dudes, wild motherfuckers, that's for sure. But like, you know, Brutus, that's where I first met Brutus, and like, you know, see you and Leia and Turbo Tiff and everybody all over again. And like, I don't know, man. Are you kidding me, man? It's the wildest, man. When you were like, no, we got to pay you. I'm like, you're not paying me. You're like, we have to, come on. And I'm like, take that money, give it to the lifters, put it back in the checks. I don't care. Literally, I'm good. Let me hang out with you guys. You're flying me out. That's all I need. You know, whatever. You help me, you cover me like that. I just want to hang out with you guys. I just want to hang around you all day and then hang out with you all night afterwards and then talk about the adventures we were on. Even like the day when you pick me up from the airport and we're just driving from the airport hanging out. And then we went out to grab like groceries for like I mean for everybody. We were grabbing like massive quantities of like liquids and stuff for people. And then we went to like we ate on a patio, like a lunch on the patio because I hadn't eaten yet. And I'm like, this is already worth it. This was all, if I got on a plane tonight and went back, I'd already be happy. I was already happy. I was already like, dog, this is amazing. I don't know, man. I don't care about things like like money, like paying me for it. I'm like, whatever, man. Let's have some moments. I mean, yeah, that's the biggest takeaway I could give somebody too. It's just like, don't worry about it. If like, I'll pass up a paying gig with people I don't know to hang out with people I do know and just hang out with them
Yeah,
any day of the week, man. But
yeah, 100%, 100%. And again, it was, yeah, I feel like you. I do live th for those moments, and yeah, it's all thanks to powerlifting, which is why I just want to give back as much as I can to that sport, to that community, to the IPF, to the French Federation, to SBD, because those are the people that are making all of that possible and all of that real. So you have to give back. And as much as I can, I'm going to give back to my sport, to my people, to my federation, to SBD. So yeah, so
someday,
that's a moment.
someday we're gonna write a book. Someday I keep
100%,
saying it, but dude,
100%.
like the chapters, I'll write each chapter. I'm gonna like write a chapter with somebody and be like, let's talk about some adventures we've been on. But it's like we've had some wild moments, man. And like you're an amazing storyteller, by the way. Like when you come on the podcast, I always know it's gonna be a good podcast because you are good at telling stories and like explaining things and going deep into them. And it's like, oh, tell me more about this. And that's a gift, by the way, man. That's a gift.
Thank
That's
you.
why that's what makes your YouTube and everything so good.
Coming
And
from you, it means a lot. Thank you very much, man.
that's why I bug you to do English versions too. We could do subtitles, but I like English versions. Do you?
Yeah, I have to. I have to.
Yeah, because dude, your following in France is massive, but your English followers are huge too. But you do these
I don't
podcasts.
quite know the percentage, but yeah, for sure.
Like
Yeah,
the people who follow you on social media and would follow you more if they had like English versions. But that's why I'm glad you're on the podcast. So you get like
yeah,
you are speaking English and they get doses of you like this. Do
yeah.
you want to play the name game, sir? How late is it over there?
It's 2:20 a.m.
Fudge, man. How long
But
have
like
we?
we said, I don't care. I told you I'll be ready and I'll have my time free. Um,
You
like we
okay?
say, we live a moment right now, and it's
We're in a moment. Dog,
I enjoyed it. I
this is
enjoy every single minute. So just shoot
cool.
your shoot and let's do that game.
Okay, let's play the name game. So I'll give a name and you could say, and then for everyone listening as well, if you don't remember the rules, say a name. You could I say a name, sorry, you say a word, 2 words, sentence, say whatever you want. But you could go as small as a word. So if I'm
Okay,
like Russell Orhe, you could say jacked, ripped, whatever.
okay,
You know,
okay.
whatever. Or you can get into a whole freaking I say Grizzly and you're like, let me tell you a story about Grizzly. You could be whatever you want. All
Sounds
right,
good.
let's go. Joe Jordan,
Old enemy.
old enemy. 66 kilo American champion Brian Lee.
Um, can't wait to meet him on the platform.
Kyoto Ushiyama, Japanese 66 kilo champ.
Talks too much, should talk less.
The current 66 kilo world record holder, Kasim Senyumong of Thailand.
Nice dude. We actually met at Worlds. He really looks like a nice dude, and looking forward to share the platform with him this year, and hopefully beat him, but in a nice spirit.
Eddie Berglund.
Don't understand why he moved up to the 74s. Should have been maybe a couple of years again as a 66.
Leah Bavois.
Goat,
Turbo Tiff.
future goat,
Taylor Atwood.
goat.
Bob Matthews.
I don't quite follow him. Obviously, I know he's the USAPL number one, uh, but I don't know him. What I'm going to say though is, I think I first saw him when he was doing like his crazy videos where he was like skating, skateboarding, and then squatting at the same time and stuff like that. And so, at first you could be like, yeah, he's just doing like stunts that are weird. Uh, but now he's like a phenomenal lifter. So I would say that. Don't know him personally, phenomenal lifter.
Definitely a phenomenal lifter. Marcellus Williams, the Swolfessor,
Don't
Craftsman
know
head
him.
coach.
Yeah, don't know him. Don't really follow a lot that he's doing. Obviously has a lot of success with Ashton, Brendan, also Bob, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
that's right.
So yeah, so obviously phenomenal coach, awesome work, but I don't really follow him closely.
Last one, Anissa.
Uh, my everything.
There it is. There it is, doggy. Unless she's judging your squats, and then it's a whole other conversation,
then
isn't it?
then she's not my everything and she's my enemy.
Then she's then she's impartial, calls it like she sees it, and
Yeah.
you're not her everything.
That's why she's my everything because
That's true.
I don't expect from somebody that deeply loves me to go against the rules for me and make me look like a fool. Because obviously, like if your squat isn't good and your girlfriend is always giving white lights, you look like a fool, right? You don't look like somebody that's true to his values because um, those aren't the values I align myself with, and nor does she. So yeah, I'm when I say she's my everything, like we're a match for each other, 100%. She's my soulmate. Not that we think like together, and not that we think the same, not that we are the same. We're really different, and we really think different. You met us personally, and so you know that's the case, and that's exactly why she's my soulmate. Like we complement each other that much, that well. She's not just my girlfriend, my fiance. She's part of my family. She's my closest friend. So yeah, so she's my everything, and she's she represents everything to me.
Dude, when you guys talk about like all the things you've done, all the things you do, like you legitimately, she is like the backbone as well.
She is
Like she is
100%.
like a foundation to the house. Like I remember when we were at Silent Worker when I was there, and you were telling me about all of what she does within the federation, running Silent Worker meet, running Silent Worker, helping with the athletes, SBD France, the whole nine. Like it is crazy how much she does.
Yeah,
And you're like, they say like when you're with certain people and certain everyone has friends and relationships, and you're like, poor guy or poor girl, like you do good in spite of, because the other person you're with is always causing drama, always they're a net problem, always. And then you see other people in relationships like you, and it's like he is like the person he's with, and you for her as well, push each other up, build together, like do all of this. None of this would be possible solo. You always need
100%.
somebody else, and you and Anissa are like a tag team that like a problem lines up, you obviously you got Anissa. So no matter what, you're at least half good. You at least got a band of two, and you two together can accomplish a lot, apparently. You know what I mean? It'd be like, how scary is how how much easier is life if you have that? If you
Yeah,
always got
100%.
somebody for sure.
Yeah. So I have her personally, but we also have our team together, each other. So Leah, Tiff, Anissa, um,
Matthew,
Julien, Rick, Matthew. Yeah, Mathieu, who's
Matthew.
my camera guy who wants to hang out with my cousin. Uh, I'm currently organizing an MMA fight between Mathieu and my cousin's boyfriend to
What?
settle the beef.
What?
Yeah,
Hang on a
and
second.
I'm going to go on YouTube with that. It's going to be a YouTube video.
Hang on a sec. Playboy, what is happening right now? So you got to tell people, because this is going on in Silent Worker.
Yeah, it has
How long has this been going on for? Tell people the background story. What is happening right now?
2 years. So basically, a guy comes up at our gym, starts to train with us, and he's like, he's a cool dude as fuck. Like he's my guy. I mean, sorry, my French is coming up because I'm a little tired. So he's my guy, 100%. And he's a cool dude. And then he starts talking a lot to my cousin, my younger cousin that just started powerlifting a couple of years ago. He started talking to her, and he's like, really talking to her. And then with the with the boys while training, they're like, "Oh, you talked with Pana's cousin a lot lately," and he's like, "Yes, sir." And I'm like, "What do you mean by that?"
You're
And
like,
he's like,
be easy now.
"Yeah, yeah, yeah,
There's
that's
a
it. That's
tone on
exactly
that.
it. That's exactly it." And he goes, nothing." But everybody's like coming at me like, "Man, he wants to hang out with your cousin. He wants to have a relationship with her, and so on and so forth." And I'm like, "There's no way. It's done. Like he doesn't deserve her. Like she's too good for him." But we're joking about it, right? And so then we have a bet where if he does a certain total at the Salon Worker Meet event, at the Salon Worker Meet, at the competition, I have to pay him and my cousin a dinner at the top of the Eiffel Tower, just them together. And if he doesn't, then he doesn't have the right to speak to my cousin ever again in his life.
Oh my God.
And so what happened at the Salon Worker Meet was everybody in the audience was cheering him up because they knew the bet that we had and they wanted him to succeed to be able to have a dinner with my cousin on the top of the Eiffel Tower. Doesn't make the total. So I'm like, you can't talk to her anymore. And then for complete 6 months, he didn't talk to her. Like he seriously
What? He
didn't talk to
honored
her
it?
for 6 months straight. And so whenever he needed something, he was like, "Hey, Pana, could you tell your cousin that this and that?"
Whoa. So
100%.
he's a man of his word.
He is. He is. At some point, I'm like, maybe I'm too rough on the dude. And we go on with another bet. He wins this time. So the win condition was like, if you win, you're able to speak again to my cousin. So he wins, start speaking to her again. And now he's all over himself. He speaks to her too much.
Now we're right back to the same problem.
Yeah. Now we're back to like, I'm going to make a relationship with your cousin.
Oh
And
God.
it's rubbing me the wrong way. So my cousin has a boyfriend for years, like 8 years, 9 years, yeah, 9 years, can't remember.
So what
And
is he saying? Because what is he saying
he's
with all
crazy.
this?
He's mad. He's mad at this
Because if somebody's like, I'm gonna win the right to take your girl out, I'd be
yeah,
like,
yeah,
the
yeah.
fuck
Just
you
imagine.
are, Playboy.
Just
The
imagine.
fuck you
So
are.
he's mad crazy, and he's angry. But like he doesn't do anything, so he's just crazy. And then Mathieu was like he was playing with my nerves and being like, yeah, I'm going to smack his face, and then she's going to see me like the better male, and she's going to hang out with me, and so on and so forth. And so I was like, you talk a lot of shit, so at some point you might have to you might have to back that up. Then he goes, I'm ready to fight him, like MMA fights, like for real.
Dude,
And then we're
this
making
is like a
jokes.
duel where you win the girl at the end, man.
Just imagine, yeah, just imagine. And we're just making jokes. And I'm like, you know what? You just talk too much. You just talk too much.
Yeah.
A couple of days ago, I had enough, and I'm like, going to my cousin. I'm like, do you think your boyfriend would be down for an MMA fight with the guy that is like on your ass for 2 years? And she's like, I think he would.
But the thing is, here's the problem. Here's the problem. Okay, hang on a sec. First off, is your cousin's boyfriend, does he have any kind of fighting background, like training?
He's training MMA.
He is training in MMA
Yeah,
already.
he's training MMA.
Has he
Yeah,
been
yeah.
before this?
For a year and a half, I would say.
Okay, thank God, first off, because
Yeah.
I would feel bad for him if he's like, I'm not doing nothing. I'm being a stand-up guy. I'm not
No,
hitting
no.
on,
He's
and all of a
fighting
sudden,
MMA.
some dude is like forcing me into a fist fight, especially if he felt pressure about it. But damn, man, I feel bad.
You know,
But if this is what he does,
yeah, that's what he does.
if he's like, dog, I've been training MMA, this might be a
That's what he
problem.
does. And the good part is Mathieu isn't training MMA.
Okay, well, this is not a good idea for Matthew. This is
He
not.
he's the one that said that that's a good
So,
idea.
in
That's what he's gonna do.
actuality, your cousin's boyfriend's like, thank you.
Yeah,
Now I get to handle this.
I gave him the opportunity to like set the record straight. And I told Mathieu, like, same bet as before. If you lose this fight, now you really lose the right to talk to my cousin ever again in your life. Like you just forget it. But if he wins, he takes my cousin.
Dog, this is
And
dude.
she's just want to say she's the one who said if he wins the fight, I eat with him on the top of the Eiffel Tower.
Okay, can I? Dog, okay, hang on. It's like, holy smokes, man! I can't even unpack this right now. Okay, listen. First off, I will pay the pay-per-view price. How much is it? You're taking
100%.
take my money, take my credit
100%.
card information. This is wild. Does Dana White know this is happening? He's like, this has got to be on the TV show. This is
Yeah.
crazy, Penna. When is
Yeah.
this happening?
So I think we said in June. So basically, it's for real. So right now we're waiting for my cousin's boyfriend answer. So Mathieu is ready. She said that she would offer him the opportunity. If it's made, I will redact the contract. So I have one of my really, really close friends who's a lawyer. So he will write a contract. Those terms will be in the contract.
Wait a
The
second.
fighters will sign the contract.
Oh my
100%.
God. So if like what? Like if your cousin doesn't go for the date, he's gonna sue?
Yeah, man, he
Matthew
has to.
sues.
You know,
He's like,
it's a
I will take
contract.
you to court for this.
Yeah, man, 100%. And
I would
so we know a gym that has MMA fight rings, and the guy who owns the gym is somebody that we personally know with Leah and myself. So once the contract is signed, then I'm going to offer him the opportunity to have the fight in his gym. I'm going to tell him I'm going to make a YouTube video out of it. We're going to have a live event out of it.
my God.
Um, and
You gotta
so
tell me. I'm sharing the link, obviously.
man, I'm going to promote this on my Insta because
Dude, this is the craziest. What do you mean?
no, it's for real, man. Like I'm going to do a YouTube video out of it, and it
dude,
will be like the guy who wants to make a relationship to be in a relationship with my cousin
this
that
isn't
has a
how it's done.
boyfriend.
Does,
They're
does
fighting.
Matthew know? Does Matthew know this isn't how it's done? You're not gonna get the girl. She's like, can you imagine that? Like he wins. They go on the date and she finds out, oh my God, I think I love this guy. And then
Yes.
they get married, have kids. And then he's like, I want to go on King of Lifts. And I want to tell you, I told you this would happen. And I'm willing to fight for this love. And this is why this is how chivalry is not over. Like, this is crazy. How does
and
this
you know, my friend Rick, like you know, the big black dude.
fulfill
Yeah, the final solution.
the final
So
solution?
Rick said that he would actually train Mathieu for the fight because Rick has a boxing background. And so they started training today, a little
Doggy,
bit at the gym.
what's Rick doing, man? Come on,
Yeah.
man. I don't know if that's the winning. I
He
don't know
wants
if
he
that's the
wants his
morally
boy to
righteous
win.
side.
He wants his boy to win, you know what I mean?
Is that his boy?
Yeah, he's his boy. Yeah, 100%. He's his boy, like for real, for real. So he wants him to win. And I saw they did a little shadow boxing a little earlier today. His Mathieu isn't good. He isn't good at all. I think he's going to get his ass handed.
Matthew's like, what do you think? Rick's like, I think we should push it back to maybe September.
Yeah, yeah.
I need a little
Let's
more
push
time.
it back.
But I mean, freak. Well, obviously, your cousin's boyfriend, who's been training, better push for this to happen sooner rather
Yeah,
than
for
later.
sure, man. For sure.
Like,
So Mathieu
sooner
has
the
the
better.
body weight advantage because I think my boyfriend's cousin is like close to 70 kilos and Mathieu is like close to 90, 95.
Oh my God, that's a
So yeah,
huge
so
body weight
there's a
advantage.
body weight discrepancy there.
Yeah, I would
But
say.
my cousin's boyfriend has the MMA experience and Mathieu doesn't have any fighting experience whatsoever. So I think it evens up a bit.
I mean, he better have some good MMA experience, not just like here and there a little bit.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
that's a
he trains. So she said, I don't know to what extent, to what degree, but she said he trains like really, really seriously.
I mean, it doesn't take like even if like 2 years of MMA is you take a guy who's been doing it for 2 years pretty extensively, it's gonna be a massive difference between somebody who does not at all. Like it's gonna be a massive difference between, like you like comparatively anybody listening, it would be like someone who doesn't powerlift to someone who's been powerlifting 2 years. Yeah, it's going to
Same.
be a pretty big difference. You would
Yeah.
have to be, just a natural in terms of what you do to be able to mitigate that kind of experience difference.
Much
However,
reasons. Much
25
reasons.
kilos is still quite a bit, but
Yeah.
but the thing is, like, I don't know how I would feel if your cousin's boyfriend loses when I know he's defending his honor and he's got it brought upon him. It's like this is like
Honestly, I don't care. You know what? It was a meme at first. It was a meme. And then it he was talking about that fight so much. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make that happen. He was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's make it happen. And yesterday we were at the restaurant with my cousin, and she was there. And I'm like, do you think he would be down? Like, do you think your boyfriend would be down? And she's like, yeah, I think so. And like, would you be down for that fight? And she's like, yeah,
Dude, like your cousin's boyfriend by this point, like 2, 3 years later, is got to be like, I seriously hate this guy. This is
yeah.
the most
Finally,
uncomfortable.
finally, I can touch him.
He
Finally, I can
probably,
touch him legally,
yeah, he
legally.
probably, thing is, he's probably like, I don't know many situations in my life where someone's got to put up with another guy continuously hitting on his girlfriend, his
Just
significant other,
imagine.
and like
And,
talking all this smack the whole time. It is like so crazy. This is such a
and
crazy
the
scenario.
worst part is that I actually talk. We actually talked about it in YouTube videos, and so it's out there. Like everybody knows that Mathieu wants to be in relationship with my cousin, who's already have a boyfriend, and he knows that. Like he watches the videos and so on and so forth, so he knows everything. So I'm like,
God
in
damn.
his mind, in his head, I would be like, finally, this is happening, and you're going to get like 2 years of pure hatred that I accumulated in my system unleashed on you right now. I'm going to punch you so hard. You will forget my girlfriend's existence.
Dude, he better or like shoot in and ground and pound, whatever it is. I don't know what his style is. I don't know his background,
Don't
but
worry, we'll have a ref. It will be well organized.
I guess the thing is, MMA is not like a game of one-on-one. Basketball, the first 1 to 10 points, people get knocked out.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
we're talking
I'd
concussions,
like to see a
Playboy.
knockout. I'd like to see a
This is
knockout.
gonna be it'll be uncomfortable to watch if
No,
like
honestly, no. I won't be uncomfortable because Mathieu puts that on himself. Like he to
no, but
lose is like,
what if so you're picturing the guy defending the honor
yeah,
wins, of course.
yeah,
But
100%.
so this is where like that's the feel good story is like the
Yeah,
guy who's defending his honor who didn't want any of this beef and stood his ground. He's the one who lays out the knockout for sure. Everyone's like, okay. The thing is, and this is what Game of Thrones will teach you. Did you watch the Red Viper versus the Mountain, my friend?
yeah. I
The good
have.
guy, the good guys defending honor don't always win. And Matthew is the Mountain who's getting beat constantly throughout the entire fight. He's the Mountain. He's getting smoked by the Red Viper. And you're like, yeah, the Red Viper's going to do this. The good guys win. And then fucking Matthew comes from out of nowhere and lands that one blow. And everybody's like, oh my God, that's not how this story's supposed to end. What
You
if,
know
what
what?
if, what if the boyfriend gets the concussion? Oh my God. And you got this.
Uh,
That's tough.
whatever. Honestly, whatever outcome, I'm okay with that. Whatever. I just want to see the
I'm
fight, man.
I'm like
I just want
emotionally
to see the
invested at this point. I think people listening will be like, I'm emotionally invested now. I don't know either one of these individuals, but listen, Matthew is going to have very few supporters because it's hard to go on that side given the story, but there'll be a few people who root for
But
the bad
no, you
guy.
know what? Like everybody, like in the powerlifting community in France, is on his side because they're like, that's our boy, and our boy deserves to be with his girl. So
dude,
I think I
dude,
think
the
we'll
thing
have
is,
more
dude,
supporters than
this is crazy.
my
The thing
my
is, like,
cousin's boyfriend.
I can't picture like hitting on another guy's girlfriend and I outweigh the guy by 25 kilos. And I'm like,
Yeah,
why don't I fight this guy? And people like, do it, man. That's awesome.
yeah,
And I'm the good guy.
yeah.
What
He's the
do
good guy. Like whenever he was lifting last year, everybody was like, "Let's go, man! You have this. Let's go!" They were crazy about it, like on Discord, on Insta, and they were all like, "Yeah, we want your cousin to. We want Matthew to get that lift in order to be able to get on that Eiffel Tower with your cousin who's already in their relationship."
Dog, I got news for you. Think of this. I'm just spitballing. I'm just spitballing ideas here. You're already flying me in. Make it on the weekend for Silent Worker. I'll commentate it. For the live stream, I will play by play commentate the MMA match as well.
Oh man,
And
you know what?
we commentate it.
You know what? I'll see. I think Matthew is doing the sound worker meet. What we can do though is we can have it like maybe the day after.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
But you know what? I think that's a good idea because that will be after Worlds, so I won't have to organize something prior to Worlds.
Yeah, you don't
But
want to do it.
it's happened. Like if obviously if my cousin's boyfriend is okay, it's happening. And what you said is an excellent idea. If it's happening, we'll make that happen on the next day of the Silent Worker meet.
Oh my God. Tune in, ladies and gentlemen.
That's it.
This is-
But it's for real. Like I'm really for real. Like, if it says yes, it's happening.
oh my Lord. Wow. Here we are. And I did not think this is how this conversation would go. We went places here. We
Yeah,
went to a lot
it
of
was crazy.
went to a lot of places on this podcast.
Yeah.
What an interesting situation. We're gonna see. I told you, man, we need to write a book. The amount of stories we're gonna have at the end of this. Just I tell people, just say yes. You never know what you're gonna walk into. I'm commentating an MMA fight in Paris.
Imagine. And the
Imagine.
guy who wins gets the girl. Like it's
Yeah, but I don't know how I feel about this.
no,
Well,
no. You know
anyways,
what? You know what? My cousin is okay with all of that. I just want to say that for the record.
yeah, well, for our
She's okay with that. She's the one who offered if Matthew wins, she's eating with him on the Eiffel Tower. So it's a
Eiffel.
completely consensual event. So
I've
that's not a
never,
problem.
I've actually never been to the Eiffel Tower myself, man. I've seen it.
Maybe you'll go there and you will be with Mathieu and he'll be at a good lunch and he'll enjoy himself. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
I'll be the
maybe he'll be
consolation
in the
prize.
hospital with a concussion.
That's right. I'll be the consolation prize, anyways. Um, Frig, man, what a podcast we've had, man. What a
Yeah, that was
freaking
insane.
podcast we've had. We've gone to some places, my friend. I appreciate it. And I freaking I think we've covered all of my topics. Is there anything that you want to bring up or you think you're good, sir?
No, I think I'm good. Yeah, just want to say to come back to powerlifting, Worlds will be a dogfight, and I think I'll be the dog on the top.
And for anybody, do you even have spots for coaching these days? Like you told me, I've seen your
Yeah,
DMs are freaking bloated. Like you will
yeah.
never get to the bottom of your requests, and they're like coaching, coaching, coach. Like it
Sadly,
is
no. Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. So no, I have a few spots left, and I think I'll open those spots for particular situations. Yeah, so for particular situations, I might open like 2 to 3 spots more, but I coach less people like individually than I used to because right now with the other stuff that I have going on, I can do like coaching full time with SBD and so on and so forth. Um, but I do have an app, a coaching app where I have programs. So if people want to check out my programs, I have my app. Um,
How do they get that?
so on my Insta page, or otherwise it's thepanache.app. So you can just go there and you'll have programs. So the app is in English and French. So if you're French, you can
Nice.
have programs and also in English. But yeah, other than that, um, follow SBD, follow Silent Worker, and we have some good stuff coming up. First, we'll meet at Worlds. We'll have a battle there, and then obviously we'll have the Silent Walker meet. Hopefully, our boy Ryan is back with us this year again.
I'm back, man. I'm back.
100%, 100%, and we'll. The goal this year is to actually completely destroy last year's event. We want a crazier event. We want more people. We want more hype. We want more crowd. We want more everything, and that's like powerlifting. You just want more, and that's our mindset with a lot of stuff. So
And
this year will be
international
higher.
lifters too. It like look at the last silent worker was
Yeah.
jarred and abs like on a it was an amazing man. It was crazy. The crowd yelling and screaming and the way it was the production, everything was amazing. International lifters, if you're in Europe and you're listening to this, go to silent worker. All of us are there, man. From Turbo Tiff to Lee to Penna to myself to like Tom, we're all there and it's a blast. We all hang out afterwards. Like if people show up, I remember like Jad Jacob showed up just to watch, like people drive in just to watch this thing. If you're in Europe and freaking you want to do a competition and it's after Worlds, and it's the July 1st weekend, you got to sign up, show up,
100%.
show
I
up, man.
like that.
You won't be disappointed. You gotta get in there, man. It's an amazing experience.
Yeah. Thank you for the promotion and yeah, just like you said, we actually have a roster of international lifters. We have to confirm their participation, but if somebody that listens to that wants to participate, what you need to do is be an international level lifter. You have to actually have competed at Euros or Worlds or somewhere internationally where we can see your total, we can see something, and then you just hit us up in the DMs. whether it be Leah or the Sana Walker page or myself, and then we make that happen.
There it is, man. Listen, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. I sometimes, like, you've had people on several times. I've been having you on for years, and I know it's going to be a good one. And friggin', I know it's going to be a long one. So I try to start early, and I know we always end up like super duper late for you. But dude, even if it's like pushing 3 o'clock, you always give it. You always give it, my man. You're a consistent. More people should have you on like as many podcasts as possible. But I want to be greedy and keep you all your good stories just to me.
And I'll try to answer positively to as much podcast as I can, but yours is in my heart, not on the list, in my heart. So I really appreciate a lot that you're doing for the sport, for us, for myself, and I'll always give back at you, my man. So
the door is always open, my friend.
It was a crazy podcast and a great conversation as always.
But man, we'll keep in touch. I'm gonna see you soon, man. 2 months flies 100%. By. I'll see you in June. And for anybody listening, please do subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. Give us high ratings. Until next time, 6-pack Lapadat, 6 up, and we are out.